Chapter 32. Handing the ring to Nian Bing, he said, "There's nothing left for me in here. Take it with you." Although it's a spatial magical item, the magical array within it is extremely ingenious. Any kind of magical power, combined with one's mental strength, can be used to retrieve the items stored in it. After putting on the ring, Nian Bing subconsciously probed the interior of the ring with his spiritual power. Indeed, what he felt was a spacious space, and his belongings were in this space. With a thought, he infused his dermic power into the ring. Under the control of his spiritual power, the morning dew dagger and the divine stone of fire in his hand instantly disappeared and appeared in the spacious space. Nian Bing felt a burst of excitement. This was what he needed the most now. He hurriedly said to Long Ji, "Master, thank you." Long Ji laughed heartily and said, "I've heard the word master most clearly. All right, let's begin our research. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me immediately." From that night onwards, Nian Bing led a regular life. Apart from the necessary washing up, even Long Ji rarely left the library. His meals and drinks were all personally delivered to the library by Long Ling. Under Long Ji's guidance, Nian Bing found it much easier to read. There are some things that he didn't need to ponder on himself. Long Ji directly provided very insightful insights, in addition to his own understanding of magic, and explained them to Nian Bing. Although the two of them were of different types of magic, with Long Ji's help, Nian Bing's understanding of the field of magic became more and more profound. The speed of reading on the third level also increased by quite a bit. Every night, the Breeze restaurant's horse carriage would arrive punctually to pick up Nian Bing. Every time, he would leave and return in a hurry. Learning magic was what he wanted the most. Unknowingly, it was already the last day of Nian Bing's promise to Shui Ji. Although a month had passed, the Breeze restaurant's business was still booming. Especially Nian Bing's daily finale. It had never been repeated in the past 30 days. The price had risen from a few dozen purple gold coins to over 100 purple gold coins. After finishing today's dishes, Nian Bing didn't leave in a hurry as usual. These days, he had been using Ming Yuan's special stove to cook. Every time he cooked, he asked Ming Yuan to watch from the side. He tried his best to slow down so that Ming Yuan could see more clearly. "Master Ming, did you see the method just now?" Nian Bing washed her hands and took off the chef's hat on her head. Ming Yuan nodded sincerely and said, "So that's how it works." "Nian Bing, you've taught me a lot in the past month. Thank you very much. Although you are younger than me, I still want to call you master." With that, he bowed to Nian Bing. Nian Bing was shocked and quickly supported Ming Yuan. "Master Ming, please don't be like this. Although these days, we've only been together for less than an hour, but some of your insights have been very helpful to me. Between us, we're just learning from each other." Ming Yuan said seriously, "Nian Bing, do you know? All this time, I thought that would be hard for my culinary skills to improve. But in this month, you didn't hesitate to let me watch your cooking methods and even explain the mysteries behind them to me. I think that even if Liao Feng were to come again, he wouldn't be able to win against me. You've let me see another door of culinary skills. Actually, even if you don't use magic, you're still a top chef." Nian Bing smiled and didn't say anything else. She lifted the kitchen curtain and walked out of the 10-square-meter area. The moment she came out, she was shocked. All the chefs stopped what they were doing and looked at her respectfully. "What is everyone doing? I think there are still many customers waiting outside. Everyone, please continue. They are thanking you, just like how I want to thank you. Nian Bing, you brought the entire Clear Wind restaurant to new heights." As the voice sounded, Shui Ji and his daughter walked over. Under Shui Ji's lead, a thunderous applause sounded. Those admiring gazes made Nian Bing's blood boil. After all, she was still a young person. "Uncle Shui, thank you for taking care of me these days." Nian Bing bowed to Shui Ji. Shui Ji smiled. "No, you should be the one taking care of me. How I wish that this month could be extended indefinitely. But I know that you're an eagle and should fly further away. I've already talked with Brother Long, don't worry. I won't use any reason to keep you here. I just hope that you can come back and visit when you're free." Nian Bing thought for a moment and said, "Uncle Shui, I think that your auction needs to continue. I think that Master Ming's culinary skills can handle it. Tomorrow, you can hold the auction first and then announce that I'm leaving. As long as the guests taste Master Ming's dishes, there shouldn't be any dissatisfaction. Ming Yuan walked over and nodded. Nian Bing's words make sense. As long as you're not a true gourmet, you won't be able to taste the difference between my dishes and Nian Bing's. Nian Bing, I really want to know how much of your skills you've used these days. I understand that you haven't used your full strength in order to maintain the Clear Wind restaurant in the future, right? Nian Bing smiled. About 70%. Ming Yuan sighed. Even 70% is something I can't compare to. There's no limit to cooking. I hope you can improve even more in the future. Nian Bing nodded. That's my goal as well. Don't worry, I'll definitely work hard. As he spoke, he channeled his magic power into the spatial ring on his finger. 10 magic scrolls appeared in his hand out of thin air. At the same time, a piece of paper appeared. Each magic scroll was tied with a ribbon of different color. Nian Bing handed the scrolls and paper to Xu Ejing. These are the scrolls I promised. Each one of them is my blood, sweat, and tears. I've already written down how to use them on the paper. They're all dual magic scrolls. In times of emergency, just open the scrolls and you'll be able to use them. Xu Ejing took the scrolls, but didn't even look at them. Her eyes shone faintly as she asked softly, "Are you really leaving?" Nian Bing nodded resolutely. "I've chosen the path I should take. I can't turn back." Shueji said, "Silence, send Nian Bing out." Xu Ejing sighed softly and walked out of the kitchen. Nian Bing said goodbye to Shueji, Ming Yuan, and the other chefs before following her out. The night was so quiet. Only the occasional sound of the wind, rustling the leaves, added a bit of life to the silent night sky. Walking on the path to the back door of the Cool Breeze restaurant, the fragrance of the plants assaulted their nostrils. "Nian Bing, do you hate me?" Xu Ejing, who was walking in front, suddenly stopped. Nian Bing walked to her side. "Why do you say that?" Xu Ejing turned around and looked at Nian Bing. "If not, then why do you keep avoiding me?" Nian Bing smiled and said, "Don't you like Yin Feng? If he comes looking for you outside and sees you with me, won't he misunderstand?" Xu Ejing's voice suddenly rose a few octaves. "What? This is your reason? Don't you know that when you first came to the Cool Breeze restaurant to compete with the Chengxian, Yin Feng had already left Ice Snow City and was summoned back by His Majesty?" Nian Bing was stunned. "I really don't know. These days, other than coming to the Cool Breeze restaurant, I've always been in the Magician's Guild's library. How could I know?" Although she said that, in her heart, she thought that it was fortunate that Yin Juhua had already left. Otherwise, if he came looking for her again, she really didn't know how to face him. Xu Ejing snorted and said, "Forget it. You can go." "Oh, then I'll go. Perhaps, when I leave Ice Snow City, I won't inform you." After saying that, Nian Bing walked towards the back door. "You're really leaving?" Xu Ejing's dissatisfied voice sounded behind her, causing Nian Bing to have no choice but to turn around. A red cloud suddenly rushed over. Nian Bing's body shook, and she almost lost her balance. She subconsciously hugged Xu Ejing's supple body. She felt a pain on her shoulder. When she looked down, it was Xu Ejing who had bitten her shoulder. Nian Bing didn't move, nor did he cry out in pain. He only smiled bitterly as he looked at the heroic girl in his arms. Xu Ejing fiercely pushed Nian Bing away and said hatefully, "You dead person, quickly leave." Looking at her beautiful red eyes, Nian Bing sighed in his heart. However, he really didn't dare to linger and hurriedly walked out of the Cool Breeze restaurant. Looking at his departing figure, Xu Ejing's face suddenly revealed a trace of smile. "You can go. You have legs, but so do I." After leaving the Cool Breeze restaurant, Nian Bing didn't take the prepared carriage. Instead, he slowly strolled along the street. These days, he had been studying magic, so he really needed to relax. Not long after he walked out of the central street, the sound of horse hooves and wheels suddenly sounded. Nian Bing looked back and thought, could it be that the carriage had caught up? It was indeed a carriage, but it didn't belong to the Cool Breeze restaurant. However, Nian Bing recognized this carriage. The carriage stopped beside him. Luo Ro's beautiful face which didn't know the world of mortals, poked out from the carriage. "Get in." Nian Bing frowned. "Thank you for your kindness, but I want to walk by myself." Luo Ro was slightly annoyed. "Am I a scourge? Other than the first time we met, why is it that every time you see me, you can't wait to avoid me?" Nian Bing smiled bitterly. "Miss, don't forget that you already have a fiancé. A man and a woman alone together, it doesn't seem appropriate." Luo Ro's eyes suddenly revealed a trace of sadness. "Are you getting in?" Although it was a request, her tone sounded very weak. Nian Bing didn't have any bad feelings towards Luo Ro. In the end, he stepped onto the carriage. Sitting across from Luo Ro, Nian Bing looked at her and said, "Miss Wise Girl, why are you looking for me?" Luo Ro looked at Nian Bing. At this moment, she looked so weak. "Nian Bing, call me Ro. I think we can be considered friends. Today is your last day at the Cool Breeze restaurant. I purposely waited for you outside." Nian Bing looked at Luo Ro and said, "You seem to have something on your mind. In Ice Snow City, you can be said to be the favored daughter of the heavens. Even Jing, and Ling can't compare to you. Could it be that you have something on your mind?" Luo Ro nodded and said, "Of course there is. Do you know why everyone, including those officials, is respectful to me? It's not only because of my intelligence, but also because of my marriage." Nian Bing's heart skipped a beat and said, "If that's the case, then your fiancé should have a very high status in the Ice Moon Empire." Luo Ro said, "That's right. My fiancé is the current 5th prince of the Ice Moon Empire. He's also the one who is most favored by the emperor and has the most hope of inheriting the throne in the future. When I was very young, I liked to show off my intelligence. That's right, it did bring me a lot of glory. However, the young me didn't know that at the same time, it also brought me a lot of trouble. I don't know when, but news of me spread to the palace. At that time, my father was only a small baron. I don't know how His Majesty found out about this, but he personally summoned us father and daughter. At the banquet in the palace, His Majesty gave me 3 difficult questions. Young and hot-blooded, I answered them one by one. My troubles began at the quarter of the year." Nian Bing continued, "His Majesty must have admired your intelligence. In addition to your appearance and noble background, he arranged a marriage between you and the 5th prince, right? Since the 5th prince was able to obtain His Majesty's appreciation, he must be quite capable. Since that's the case, there's nothing bad about you marrying him." Luo Ro snorted and said, "Nothing bad about it? Haven't you heard of the saying, once you enter the palace, you'll be as deep as the ocean? The 5th prince's abilities are indeed outstanding. I've seen him in the palace when I was young. His appearance is also top-notch. However, his abilities are also reflected in other aspects. From what I know, he already has 16 concubines. Do you think I'll be happy marrying such a person? At most, I'll be a queen in the future. That's not the life I want. I'm already 18 years old. In 2 years, when I'm 20, I'll be marrying the 5th prince who's older than me by 2 years. Tell me, how can I not be annoyed?" Nian Bing said, "Then what's your decision? Are you marrying him or not?" Luo Ro said sadly, "Of course I'll marry him. Do I have a right to choose? I still have to think about my parents. If I marry the 5th prince, my father's position will naturally soar. If I don't marry him, I'm afraid my entire family will suffer. I don't have a choice at all." "Ro, I still don't understand what you mean. You didn't come looking for me today just to tell me these things, right?" Nian Bing found that he was more and more moved by Luo Ro. He might as well get straight to the point. He didn't want his decision to be affected by his emotions. Luo Ro's expression changed slightly. She sighed and said, "I do want to ask for your help. I heard that you'll be leaving soon to travel the continent. I want to ask you to help me send a letter to the Ottoman Empire. Moreover, this letter must not be received by anyone in the Ice Moon Empire. If you can help me with this, perhaps I won't have to marry the 5th prince." Nian Bing said, "Who in the Ottoman Empire should I send it to?" Luo Ro said, "Send it to the capital of the Ottoman Empire and give it to Marquis Bluefeather's youngest daughter." "Oh no, Marquis Bluefeather was promoted to Duke last year. His daughter's name is Lan Chun. Marquis Bluefeather is very famous in the Ottoman Empire. You'll definitely be able to find out about him there. Since you're going to travel anyway, and the Ice Moon Empire shares a border with the Blue Feather Empire. Just help me with this, okay? Sending a letter wasn't a difficult matter. After all, this was related to Luo Ro's lifelong happiness. Nianbing nodded and said, I hope there won't be any trouble. Luo Ro said happily, that means you've agreed. As she spoke, she took out a letter and a small bead emitting a gentle white light. She handed it to Nianbing and said, this bead is a token. Add this to the letter, and Lanshun will definitely believe you. Nianbing received it and was surprised to find that the smooth bead had a familiar warmth to it. It was actually made of white jade. He didn't look at it carefully. With a wave of his hand, he put the letter and bead into his spatial ring. The carriage stopped at the entrance of the Magician's Guild. Nianbing said to Luo Ro, I'll do my best to help you deliver the letter. I'll be leaving now. Goodbye. Wait a moment. Luo Ro suddenly moved to Nianbing's side and kissed him on the cheek. The faint fragrance left Nianbing in a daze. Luo Ro's eyes were filled with gratitude. Nianbing, thank you. If I've caused you any trouble in the past, please forgive me. You're actually a good person. Nianbing touched his own face as a strange feeling rose in his heart. A good person? Am I really a good person? Not long ago, Shuejin called me a dead person. Another half a month had passed. On the 4th floor of the Ice Moon Empire's Magician's Guild, Nianbing was carefully reciting a magic incantation. Longji had high hopes for Nianbing. 20 days ago, after he had finished learning all the knowledge on the 3rd level, Longji allowed him to continue learning on the 4th level. There were far fewer books on the 4th level compared to the 3rd level. There wasn't even a full bookshelf on the 4th level. The magic knowledge here was extremely profound. Even with Nianbing's intelligence, he could only memorize it and slowly understand it. On the 4th floor, there were all kinds of incantations, including 11th rank forbidden spells, although there were very few of them. These incantations were the most precious assets of the Magician's Guild. Ordinary magic was divided into 10 ranks. At the 11th rank, it was the so-called forbidden spell, and the highest rank was the 12th rank God's Descent. It was called the forbidden spell of forbidden spells. Nianbing. Longji opened the restriction and walked up from below, interrupting Nianbing, who was reciting. Master, didn't you say that I only need to recite these things, and that I don't need to explain anymore? Nianbing looked at Longji with some surprise. When he first became Longji's disciple, he was still somewhat guarded. However, Longji's selfless teaching made him feel as if he saw Zhaji's figure again. Longji's expression was somewhat ugly. Nianbing said, You must leave tomorrow. I just received news that after His Majesty received your news, he was very interested in your cooking skills. He has already sent a message to Marquis Noah using magic wind pigeons. The magic wind pigeons are very fast. They will definitely arrive at Ice Snow City within 3 days. Therefore, you must leave tomorrow. Nianbing had always wanted to leave Ice Snow City. However, when he suddenly heard Longji telling him to leave, he couldn't help but feel somewhat uncomfortable. However, he still nodded and said, Master, I have already memorized most of the things here. If I hurry up, I should be able to finish memorizing them by tonight. Anyway, I have nothing to pack. I will leave tomorrow morning. I have not appeared outside for the past few days. I think that the people of Great Accomplishment Pavilion should not know that I am still in the city. Longji coldly snorted and said, If you think so, you are underestimating them too much. I have long discovered that there are people monitoring the surroundings of the Union, as if they are afraid that you will run away. Your existence will always be a threat to Great Accomplishment Pavilion. Nianbing nodded and said, I understand. Master, is there anything else you want me to do? Longji did not speak. He walked to the only bookshelf and hesitated for a moment. Then, he took out a magic book from the top row of the bookshelf. Nianbing had already read that book. It described the effects of some forbidden spells. When he read it, Nianbing was really shocked by the power of the forbidden spells. Longji held the book and sighed softly. Originally, I didn't want to teach you this magic, and I didn't want you to use it. But now, I feel that it's better to teach it to you. Although it's very harmful, it's the best way to save your life. Nian Bing looked at Long Ji with some doubts and asked, Master, what kind of magic is it that makes you so troubled? A green light appeared from Long Ji's finger. The active wind element jumped in the air. The green light was brought up by his finger and drew a strange pattern on the surface of the magic book. Nian Bing, who was familiar with magic arrays, immediately understood that it was a simple array to activate a hidden effect. The light flashed, but the magic book did not seem to have any changes. Long Ji opened the book. The original first page disappeared, and a layer of small golden words appeared. He handed the book to Nian Bing and said in a deep voice, Remember this spell, but do not read it out loud. You must remember every word clearly. The spell was very long. Nian Bing did not pay attention to its contents. Instead, he followed Long Ji's instructions and imprinted it in the depths of his mind. When he had completely memorized it, he raised his head and asked, Master, what spell is this? Long Ji's eyes flashed and said, This is an ancient curse spell. It is also the biggest secret of our union. Nian Bing's body shook and said, Curse spell? Isn't that something that only dark magic has? According to the records, dark magic seems to have been lost a long time ago. Long Ji shook his head and said, No, actually dark magic still exists. However, because dark magicians have always been hunted by the various worlds of the continent, they hide very secretly. At the same time, their numbers are very small. Actually, dark magic is a very mysterious magic. It has special effects that other magic cannot achieve. However, I can tell you that this curse spell does not belong to the category of dark magic. It is a special ancient curse spell. Originally, only I knew of its existence. Now you're the second. Nian Bing asked curiously, Then what effect does it have? Long Ji said, The effect is very simple. It is to curse oneself. Curse oneself? Even if Nian Bing was smart, he still could not understand Long Ji's words. Correct, it is to curse oneself. By cursing one's own life, one can obtain even more power. In an instant, one can exceed one's own limit in using magic. Using this curse can be controlled. According to the strength of the curse, the power obtained will also be different. Its name is Life's Song of Curses. Nian Bing's eyes shone brightly. Master, I want to know how powerful this spell is. Long Ji glanced at Nian Bing and said, It is very terrifying. An 11th-step forbidden spell and a 12th-step God's Descent spell have completely different powers. At that time, the Ice Goddess Priestess once used God's Descent spell to destroy 100,000 soldiers of the Longmu Empire. It was also because of that battle that she had today's status. If I use this curse to release all my life force, and then use a forbidden spell, although I may not be able to achieve the same effect, it will definitely not be a problem for me to resist the Ice Goddess Priestess for 2 hours. This is the power of a curse. You must remember, unless you are in a life and death situation, you must never use this curse. Because every time you use it, it will cause you to lose at least 5 years of life force. Do you understand? Nian Bing nodded and said, Master, I understand. It is used to put my life on the line. Long Ji nodded and said, It's good that you understand. In addition, there is one more thing. It is now September. Next year, on the 7th of July, the Huarong Empire's capital will be holding a new magician convention. I hope you can represent the Union to participate. At that time, you only need to show your participation card. Each empire can send 2 new magicians under the age of 25. Other than that, there are no other restrictions. The Ice Moon Empire will send 2 magicians. One will be chosen from the Ice God Tower, while the other will be chosen from our Union. Every time, the magicians our Union will send are just foils. I hope you can fight for your master's honor. Of course, you can also refuse. After all, this is not within the scope of our original agreement. I have given you the participation card. Whether you want to go or not is up to you. As he said that, he took out a black token from his bosom and handed it to Nian Bing. The token had an obvious magical aura. On it was a complex magical array. Even Nian Bing was unable to distinguish its characteristics. There was a number on the token. It was 10. Do you see it? The number is 10. This means that our results in the last competition were 10th place. Longji's voice was tinged with sorrow. Nian Bing put the token into her spatial ring and said with a faint smile, "Master, if it is on the way, I think I will go." Longji handed a scroll to Nian Bing. "You brat, you just won't give me a definite answer. This spatial scroll can take you directly from here to the alley not far from the back door of the Cool Breeze study. I want to see how the Great Accomplishment Pavilion can keep an eye on you. As for when to leave, you can decide for yourself. Don't say goodbye to me. I don't like that feeling. As for Ling Er, I will speak for you. Finally, I will remind you one more time. Don't forget what you promised me. How much you can achieve in the future will depend on yourself." Longji left. Nian Bing put the scroll into her spatial ring. Was she finally leaving? This was what she had been looking forward to. But was she really not reluctant to leave? Early in the morning, when the first ray of sunlight brought light to Ice Snow City, a gray figure quietly appeared in the alley not far from the Cool Breeze study. Looking around, Nian Bing put on the tattered felt hat she had brought from the Magician's Guild. With her coarse clothes, unless it was someone familiar, no one would be able to recognize her. Looking around, Nian Bing was just about to leave to find Feng knew suddenly she heard a clear voice. At the same time, a strong magical wave came from the corner not far from the alley. Driven by curiosity, Nian Bing walked towards the corner. Suddenly, she saw a strange scene. It was a little girl who looked to be only 14 or 15 years old. She was not tall, only reaching Nian Bing's chest. Her figure was petite and exquisite. Although her clothes were a little tattered, it could be seen that they were originally made of very luxurious cloth. Her hair was combed into 2 long black braids. Her back was facing Nian Bing, and she was muttering something. "I summon you in the name of Shi Yun. Come out, my pet, faint." She pointed a small, pitch-black magic staff at the ground. Suddenly, a red hexagram appeared on the ground. The light of the hexagram was not very obvious. The strangest thing was that although it was red, it did not release any heat. The magical elements in the air seemed to be repelled and dispersed. Just when Nian Bing did not know what she was doing, the dark red light suddenly expanded. A scene that made Nian Bing almost cry out in shock happened. On the dark red hexagram, a huge figure appeared. With a moo, the figure gradually became clear. It had black and white hair on its body. It was a cow. The dark red hexagram disappeared. The cow rubbed against the girl's body affectionately. Although the cow's body was not very tall, it was extremely fat. As long as it moved a little, the fat on its body would constantly tremble. "Good cow, I'm so hungry. I can't walk anymore. Can you give me some milk to drink? I'm starving to death." The girl patted the cow's head and said somewhat pleadingly. The cow let out a low growl in dissatisfaction, as if it did not want to contribute its milk. Nian Bing at this time felt a burst of nervousness. What did she see? Although it was a cow, but this was clearly a special magic of the same origin as her ice and fire. Summoning magic. Could it be that this little girl was a summoning mage? Heavens! Summoning mages actually existed. Chapter 33. Nian Bing had read about it in the Magician Union. Summoning magic was known as the most mysterious magic on the mainland. It was even more mysterious than dark magic. The requirements for practicing summoning magic were very strange, and very few people could meet them. The basic requirement was that the person who practiced summoning magic had to be a naturally white person. The so-called Caucasians were people who were born without any physical attributes. Although it was rare to have dual attributes, there were still 1 or 2 in 1,000 people. However, Caucasians without any attributes were 1 in 10,000. According to the records, thousands of years ago, the level of magic at that time was much more advanced than it is now. Magicians were the most mainstream profession. Humans would choose to cultivate magic according to their own attributes. If you were a white person at that time, you would inevitably be called a piece of trash. At that time, one of the few Caucasians could not withstand the pressure from the outside world and chose to commit suicide. However, during the process of suicide, something strange happened. No one knew what happened at that time, but a few years later, the continent's first summoning magician appeared. Although Caucasians could not practice magic because they did not have any attributes, they were born with strong mental strength. Summoning magic was to use mental strength to summon various creatures that had signed a contract with the summoner. These creatures could be as small as birds and beasts, and as big as giant dragons. They could all become the summoner's companions. The stronger the mental strength, the stronger the creature could be summoned and made to fight for the summoner. To become a summoning magician, the most important thing was undoubtedly to increase one's mental strength. However, luck was also very important. As a summoning magician without any abilities, due to their lack of talent, they couldn't even practice martial arts. How could it be easy to sign a contract with a powerful creature? Therefore, luck was also very important to a summoner. In order to be able to summon a stronger summoner, these Caucasian summoners researched a special magic that was suitable for them. That was the spiritual magic that relied on their strong mental strength to cultivate. For ordinary people, this was almost impossible. However, for them it was not difficult. Not knowing when, the legendary summoners disappeared from the mainland due to the lack of Caucasians. Legend had it that the strongest summoner, the dragon summoner, also came to an end. Nian Bing had never thought that she would meet a summoning magician before she left Ice Snow City. Although she had only summoned a cow, the fact was that she had summoned a summoning magician. As she thought of this, Nian Bing's mental strength fluctuated violently due to the shock in her heart. Moo! The cow raised its head warily and looked in the direction of Nian Bing. The girl followed the cow's gaze and turned around at the same time. At this moment, Nian Bing finally saw her appearance clearly. Her fair skin was like white jade, and her beautiful face had a pair of big black eyes that were the same color as her hair. Her eyes were really big, and they exuded a friendly aura. Her small red lips slightly pouted, and she blinked in surprise. "Who's there?" Nian Bing walked out from the shadows and said awkwardly, "Hello, little sister." The girl stuck out her tongue. "You're so annoying. Don't call me little sister. I'll be 16 in 11 months. What are you doing there? Could it be that you deliberately followed me? No wonder Father said that there's no good in the outside world. Why are you following me?" Nian Bing hurriedly shook her head and said, "No, don't misunderstand. I'm not following you. I just happened to pass by here and felt the fluctuation of magic, so I came to take a look." "Little sister." "Oh, no, miss. Are you a summoning magician?" The girl was stunned for a moment and said, "You can tell? Father said that whoever recognizes our identity must die." Nian Bing was shocked and said, "What? Why is that?" The girl shook her head and giggled. "But don't be afraid. Even if I want you to die, it won't be that easy, because I don't have a pet that can attack people. Big brother, do you have anything to eat? I'm so hungry." Nian Bing helplessly shook her head and said, "I came out in a hurry, so I don't have anything to eat with me. But I can buy some for you. Aren't there a lot of food shops outside? Why don't you buy some?" The girl pursed her lips and said, I snuck out and didn't bring any money with me. These days, I've been drinking light milk to not be hungry. Big brother, can you buy me something to eat? I'll use light milk to exchange with you." Nian Bing looked at the fat cow and said, "It's called light milk." The girl's eyes suddenly flashed with a strange light. "Light milk? Why aren't you saluting this big brother?" Light milk mooed and suddenly lifted its two front hooves, raising its fat body. Nian Bing could clearly see that there were 8 fat cows under its belly. They were red and looked like they had a lot of milk. Just at this moment, something strange happened. The milk cow called Light Milk's 8 teats suddenly shot out a milky white light at the same time, attacking Nian Bing like lightning. Nian Bing wasn't a warrior. Even if his reaction was fast, there was no way he could dodge in this narrow alley. The activation magic scroll played a crucial role at this moment. A blue light suddenly lit up, and a thick ice wall suddenly appeared in front of Nian Bing. Under the attack of the white light, 8 deep holes appeared in the ice wall that was nearly 1 meter thick. Nian Bing didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he found out that the 8 white lights were actually 8 streams of milk that shot out from the teats. He didn't doubt that in a situation where he didn't have any protection, these 8 streams of milk could easily penetrate his body. With a slight wave of his right hand, the stone of fire god appeared from the space ring. Nian Bing carefully chanted a spell and looked at the girl in front of him vigilantly. The girl saw that Nian Bing blocked the milk cow's attack and couldn't help but look at him in surprise. "You're also a magician?" Nian Bing nodded and said, "Of course. Otherwise, how could I have felt the fluctuation of your magic before?" The girl curled her lips and said, "Then there's no other way. I have to kill you. Otherwise, if Father knows that I reveal my magic secret, he won't let me out in the future. I'm sorry, brother." Her charming face emitted a sunny smile, making it difficult for Nian Bing to associate her with the word murder. But at this time, he didn't dare to be the slightest bit careless. This girl in front of him who could use summoning magic was definitely not simple. He subconsciously took a step back. The milk cow called Nian Bing had already arrived in front of the girl. Its pair of eyes looked at Nian Bing with disdain. With a moo, it raised its 2 front hooves and shot 8 streams of milk at Nian Bing. But this time it was much more hurried. Nian Bing held the stone of fire god in his right hand and slowly extended it forward. A ball of purple flames suddenly condensed into a fire shield in front of him. This was a rank 4 spell called Purple Flame Shield. This was the spell that he had prepared beforehand. Its function was to generate high temperature to defend against ice magic. At this time, it was clearly the most suitable spell to deal with the milk cow. Although the milk's impact was very strong, it evaporated into milk powder before it even touched the purple flame shield. Suddenly, a faint fragrance of milk floated in the air. The purple flame shield only emitted a few streams of hot air, but there wasn't the slightest damage. Relying on his magic control that far exceeded that of a magician of the same rank, Nian Bing's right hand controlled the purple flame shield to take a step forward. He looked at the fat milk cow and said, "Don't you have any other skills besides milking milk? As such a magic beast, I really don't know how you survive. What if you milked the milk clean?" Although the milk cow in front of him was no different from a normal milk cow, but from the fact that it could attack, it could be seen that it still belonged to the category of magic beasts. It's just that its abilities were very small, and it seemed like it only knew how to attack with milk. The milk cow looked at the purple flame shield in front of Nian Bing and was clearly a little afraid. It turned its head to look at its master and mooed a few times. The young girl stuck her head out from behind the milk cow and looked at Nian Bing, said in surprise, "Big brother, why aren't you dead yet? Just now it was ice, and now it's fire. How come I didn't hear Father say that there was such a magician?" Nian Bing's heart was slightly startled. Only now did he realize that he had unintentionally revealed a secret. He said indifferently, "Just now was a magic scroll, and now it's my magic. Miss, if you don't want this milk cow to turn into beef jerky, it's better to let it dodge." The young girl seemed to be in a difficult position. "But my cow can kill people. If I send it back to my space, how can I kill you?" Her appearance was extremely cute, and there was no trace of pretentiousness. Nian Bing found it funny and said, "Then have you killed anyone before?" The young girl shook her head and said, "No, but Father always talks about killing people, so Mother always quarrels with him. I was bored to death, so I ran out to play." Nian Bing looked at the young girl in front of him who didn't understand the world, and a trace of emotion rose in his heart. It wasn't the feeling of a man and a woman, but the feeling of a brother caring for a sister. "How about this? You send this fat cow back to your so-called space, and I'll treat you to something good to eat. How about it?" The young girl tilted her head and thought for a moment, then said, "Okay. Then after eating, I'll kill you. Father is very fierce, so I can't do anything about it. Big brother, you won't blame me, right?" Nian Bing casually dissolved the purple flame shield and said, "Come with me." After saying that, he pressed down the hat on his head and walked out of the alley. He still had a lot of trigger scrolls on him, so he wasn't afraid of the young girl's sneak attack. The young girl cheered in high spirits. She clasped her hands in front of her chest and murmured, "Faint, keep." A red light flashed, and the huge cow suddenly disappeared. Before it left behind a low moo sound. The young girl followed behind Nian Bing, and the two of them came to the main street. Nian Bing lowered his head, listening to the young girl's footsteps, and slowly walked towards the north of the city. If it wasn't for the fact that he had to leave Ice Snow City, he could have taken the young girl to the Breeze Sect to eat a big meal, but now he couldn't. The streets in the city were too far away for him to avoid. After walking for about an hour, the young girl finally couldn't bear the loneliness and quickened her pace to Nian Bing's side. "Big brother, I'm so hungry, and my legs are so soft, I can't walk anymore. Will there be good food?" Nian Bing turned his head to look at the young girl, who was shorter than him by a head, and said, "Don't worry, we'll be there soon. When the time comes, Big brother will personally make good food for you." He didn't know why, but when he saw the young girl's pure and innocent big black eyes, Nian Bing couldn't help but feel a bit of pity for her. The young girl blinked and said, "Big brother, can you carry me on your back? I really can't walk anymore." Nian Bing was stunned. His real age was only 3 years older than the young girl. When he heard her take the initiative to let him carry her, he couldn't help but blush and said, "How can that be? Men and women are different." The young girl pouted and said, "You're lying. Didn't my father always carry me on his back to play?" Nian Bing smiled bitterly. "That's different. He's your father." The young girl said, "If you don't carry me, I'll find a place where there's no one and summon Faint to ride it." Nian Bing quickly shook his head and said, "That won't do. Riding a cow on the streets will attract attention." His current goal was to quietly leave Ice Snow City. Frankly speaking, even he didn't understand why he had to bring such a burden. The young girl stretched out her arms. Her snow-white hands were as delicate as bamboo shoots in spring. "Then you carry me." Sighing, Nian Bing helplessly squatted down. After all, she was just a young girl. The young girl cheered excitedly. With a fierce jump, she climbed onto Nian Bing's broad back. Although Nian Bing didn't cultivate martial arts, from the perspective of a normal person, his body was still considered strong. The young girl's body was very light, so it didn't take much effort to carry her. Just like that, he carried the young girl through the streets and alleys, heading towards their destination. After the time it took to eat a meal, Nian Bing was panting as he let the young girl down from his back. His forehead and temples were already sweating. "Come down, little ancestor. We've reached our destination. Fake Goods Ironware Shop. Big brother, is there anything delicious here?" The young girl asked curiously. Nian Bing didn't answer. He walked to the door and knocked a few times. "Who is it?" A familiar voice gently sounded. Nian Bing suddenly felt his heart warm up. He didn't know why, but in his heart, Feng Nu's appearance had always been the most profound. "Feng Nu, it's me, Nian Bing." The door opened, and Feng Nu, who was dressed in white, poked her head out from behind the door. Looking at Nian Bing, her expression was a little cold. "So it's the Ice and Fire Chef. We're just a small family. Aren't you wronging us by coming here?" Nian Bing looked at Feng Nu. She seemed to have become more beautiful. Especially that invisible noble aura that she was emitting seemed to have become stronger than before. "Feng Nu, For a moment, he really didn't know what to say. "Hello, big sister. I'm so hungry." The young girl poked her head out from behind Nian Bing. Her pair of big eyes looked at Feng Nu, revealing a curious expression. Feng Nu saw the cute young girl. She couldn't help but glance at Nian Bing in surprise. "She is?" Nian Bing bitterly smiled and said, "I just picked her up from the streets." According to her, she ran away from home and didn't bring any money. Feng Nu looked at Nian Bing in confusion. Her expression clearly became a bit more unfriendly. She opened the door and said, "You guys come in first. There's going to be something delicious." The young girl cheered and was the first to rush through the door. When Nian Bing passed by the Phoenix Lady, she clearly heard her say in a low voice, "If I find out that you've kidnapped an underage girl, don't blame me for being impolite." Nian Bing said with an innocent face, "Do you think I'm that kind of person?" Feng Nu snorted and said, "You can't judge a book by its cover. Who knows if you have that kind of hobby?" After saying this, she couldn't help but laugh. She pulled Nian Bing and pulled him into the courtyard. Her beautiful eyes moved, indescribably moving. "Big sister, what delicious food do you have here? I'm so hungry." The young girl ran to Feng Nu's side and shook her hand without any scruples. Feng Nu said softly, "Little sister, what's your name? Why are you so naughty when you run away from home? Your family will be worried." Nian Bing nodded and said, "That's right, you're too naughty. I don't know your name either. Right? Why can't I call you little sister, but she can call you that?" The young girl blinked and said, "Because big sister is prettier than you. My name is Xian. Actually, I'm very obedient as a cute kitty. That's why daddy and mommy like to call me kitty. You can call me that too." Feng Nu glared at Nian Bing and said, "Kitty, ignore him. Nian Bing, hurry up and cook. There are ready-made ingredients in the kitchen." These days I have to throw a lot of things every day. It's all your fault. I just want to see when you'll come over." Nian Bing was stunned and said, Didn't I tell you that I might not be able to come over for a while?" Feng Nu said unhappily, "Hurry up and cook. I'll deal with you later. Little sister, sit down and rest for a while." As she said that, she pulled over a stool for Kitty to sit down. Nian Bing helplessly shook her head and could only walk to the kitchen. As of now, other than the dead Jiaji, only Feng Nu could use a commanding tone to make her willingly cook. There weren't many ingredients in the kitchen. There were only a few types of vegetables. After Nian Bing's careful preparation, 4 dishes and a soup were placed on the table in the courtyard in less than an hour. Their aromatic aroma permeated the air. "Wow, it smells so good. Big brother, why is this rice green?" Kitty looked at the fragrant rice in her hand and asked. Nian Bing smiled and said, "Because Big Brother used the juice of the boiled vegetables to make it. The nutrition of the vegetables will be completely integrated into the rice during the steaming process. Not only is the taste more fragrant, but it's also very nutritious. You should eat more. It's a pity that it's all vegetables. How about you contribute that fat cow of yours, and I'll make you a beef ball to eat?" Kitty was obviously startled by Nian Bing. "No, you can't eat the cow. The cow has to be milked for Kitty to drink." Feng Nu looked at them in confusion and asked, "Cow? Where did the cow come from?" Kitty stared at Nian Bing with her eyes wide open. "Don't tell me." "Big sister, I can't tell you this, Kitty, otherwise you'll die." Hearing her words, Feng Nu's doubts increased. Then why does Nian Bing know? Kitty ate the food in big mouthfuls and vaguely said, "Because after I finish eating, I'll kill Big Brother. Who let him know my secret?" Feng Nu looked at Nian Bing in shock. "She wants to kill you?" Nian Bing shrugged and said, "She's inexperienced. Who told me to know her secret? Let her kill me. Anyway, after I finish eating, I'll be leaving here. Perhaps I'll never see her again." Feng Nu's expression changed slightly. "You're leaving?" Nian Bing nodded and said, "I have to leave. You know about the Ice and Fire Chef. I received news that the king of the Ice Moon Empire has ordered me to enter the palace. If I don't leave now, I'm afraid I won't even have my freedom in the future." Feng Nu, is the Zhengyang saber ready? Feng Nu's eyes flashed with a strange light. After a while, she nodded and said, "It's ready a few days ago. You should leave too. Perhaps, after you leave, I'll leave too." Nian Bing said in surprise, "You're leaving too?" Feng Nu looked at him with a strange gaze and said, "Originally, I was going to leave when you came. There's nothing here that makes me reluctant to leave. But your arrival has made me stay for a few more months. After I finish eating, I'll start the furnace. After the Zhengyang saber is ready, I'll leave." Nian Bing felt a sense of reluctance in her heart. "Then, will we meet again in the future? Where do you plan to go after leaving this place?" Feng Nu lowered her head so that Nian Bing didn't see the red light in her eyes. Kitty raised her head and looked at Feng Nu, her big black eyes showing a trace of surprise. Feng Nu said, "Perhaps I'll go to the Longmu Empire. There's something I need to find there. If fate wills it, perhaps we'll meet again." Nian Bing thought that Feng Nu was looking for oars used for casting. She didn't suspect anything and said regretfully, "It's a pity that I promised a friend to go to the Ottoman Empire first. Otherwise, we could go the same way." The meal went on in silence. Kitty was the happiest. Although it was just vegetables, Nian Bing made it with 1,000 flavors. The simple dishes showed his exquisite cooking skills. Kitty showed an appetite that was completely out of proportion to her body. Most of the dishes went into her stomach. Feng Nu, who always had a big appetite, didn't eat much. During the meal, she would occasionally look at Nian Bing with a trace of hesitation, as if she couldn't make up her mind about something. Lunch ended with a clean meal. Feng Nu was about to clean up, but she was stopped by Nian Bing. "I haven't come to see you in so many days. Let me clean up." After that, he quickly put away the bowls and chopsticks and walked to the kitchen. As soon as Nian Bing left, Kitty couldn't wait to grab Feng Nu's hand and whispered, "Sister, sister, are you from the Feng people?" Hearing this, Feng Nu's whole body trembled, and a scorching hot air was naturally emitted. She grabbed Kitty's hand and said in a deep voice, "How did you know? Who are you?" Kitty said with a little grievance, "Sister, you're hurting Kitty. You have the aura of the phoenix. That's why Kitty knows. My father used to take me to the Feng people." A name flashed through Feng Nu's mind. She lowered her voice and said, "Are you the daughter of the dragon summoner, Hillard?" Kitty said yes. "Yes. Sister, do you know my father too?" Feng Nu's eyes flashed, but the expression on her face became gentle again. "I know, of course I know. Hillard is the most talented summoner among the white people. How can I not know him? When you went to the Feng people, it should be 10 years ago. Your father used to help us a lot. He is indeed a genius. It's hard to believe that he could cultivate the summoning technique to that level. Unfortunately, his summoning technique is too dark. But looking at you, you don't seem to be affected by him. Kitty, just now you said that you want to kill Nian Bing. Is it because he already knows that you can summon?" Kitty nodded and said, "It's because of this. My father once said that if outsiders know that I can summon, I must kill him. Otherwise, our people will be attacked by bad people. Sister, he is a magician, and he doesn't seem to be easy to kill. Can you help me kill him? My father always said that Feng people are natural warriors. You can definitely kill him." Feng Nu smiled and said, "Kitty, be good and listen to your sister. Don't kill him. He is still a good person and won't reveal your secret. If your father asks in the future, you can tell him that it was the Phoenix girl who vouched for him. Your father won't blame you, okay?" Kitty nodded and giggled. "Okay." Kitty also doesn't want to kill people. "Sister, thank you. It's good that I don't have to kill people. Brother Nian Bing's cooking is so delicious. I really can't bear to kill him." Feng Nu said unhappily, "You little girl, you ran away from home after learning half of the summoning technique. If you want to kill him, you have to learn from your father for at least 5 years. He is not simple. The same origin of ice and fire magic is as magical as your family summoning technique. Kitty, you have to remember, in front of him, don't reveal your sister's identity." Kitty blinked and said, "Sister, don't worry. Kitty is the most obedient. I won't reveal it." Obedient? Would she run away from home if she was obedient? "Kitty, after I help your brother Nian Bing, I will send you back. If you run away by yourself, your parents will be worried sick." Kitty pouted and said, "I don't want to. It's so boring at home. My father makes me hold a crystal ball in a daze every day. He said I can train my spiritual power. It's so boring. It's not fun at all. It's not easy to run away." Kitty wants to play for a few more days. Feng Nu frowned and said, "But your father will be worried. Do you want them to be worried? Kitty, be obedient. Otherwise, I will tie you up and bring you back." With the friendship between the Feng people and Kitty's father, Feng Nu must help. Kitty lowered her head and said, "Okay then, I will go back with you." At this time, Nian Bing finished cleaning up and walked out of the kitchen. She smiled and said, "I made a lot of food today. I didn't expect you to eat all of it. Kitty, you shouldn't be called Kitty. You should be called Piggy." Kitty's eyes suddenly lit up. "Oh right, sister. Do you have any food here?" Kitty's pets haven't eaten yet. They must be hungry. Only Milky Cow is the best. She just needs to eat some grass. The others are not obedient. They are very picky when it comes to food." Nian Bing said in surprise, "Kitty, how did you say that?" Kitty smiled and said, "Because you're a good person. I've already told you." Nian Bing looked at Feng Nu strangely. She really didn't understand. In such a short time, Feng Nu had already bribed Kitty. It seemed that her charm was indeed much worse than Feng Nu's. "Kitty, do your pets need to eat?" Kitty said, "Of course, they usually eat in my space. But after a while, they need to eat something. Sometimes, when there is no food, I can only let them drink some light milk. They haven't eaten enough since they left home." Feng Nu smiled and said, "Then you can call them out. Although I don't have meat here, I have enough food." Kitty said excitedly, "Okay, finally, I can let them out. If they're still picky about food, I will let them starve." "Brother," Sister, I will let you see my 4 summoned beasts. I summon you in the name of Shi Yun. Come out, my pet Tian Tian. A red hexagram appeared on the ground. Nian Bing clearly felt that the spiritual power, even stronger than her own, filled the space. With a flash of red light, a creature suddenly appeared on the ground. It turned out to be a big fat rat. The big rat was half a meter long. Based on its size, it was even fatter than the cow. Aside from its sharp mouth and thin tail, its entire body was like a gray ball. As soon as it appeared, its sharp nose kept sniffing. When its nose was facing the Phoenix girl, its whole body suddenly trembled and it lay on the ground, not daring to move. As a chef, Nian Bing thought to himself as he looked at the fat rat, if I roast it so that all the fat in its body reaches its skin, it will definitely taste very good. I just need to add some salt to it. Kitty said, the big rat is the laziest of all my pets. It only knows how to sleep, eat, and sleep all day long. It is the most difficult to make it work. I summon you in the name of Shi Yun. Come out, my pet Tian Tian. The red light flashed again. This time, it was a fiery red fox. The fox appeared next to the big rat, Tian Tian. It looked a little thin and small. It blinked its small but very smart eyes. It combed its luxurious fur and seemed to have a strange and evil smile. It directly lay on the back of the big rat. Tian Tian protested twice in dissatisfaction, but probably because of the obscenity, it had to lower its head again. The fox looked around and was about to act like a tyrant. Suddenly, it felt a special aura coming from Feng Nu. It immediately covered its head with its tail, completely like an ostrich. Chapter 34. Kitty giggled and said, that's the most cunning one, always bullying other babies. Especially Tian Tian. I summon you in the name of Shi Yun. Come out, my pet Guan. The red light flashed on Kitty's hand this time, and a little pig appeared in Kitty's arms. The little pig was light pink, and as soon as it appeared, it shook its fat little butt in Kitty's arms. Its body was smaller than the big mouse Tian Tian, only 30 centimeters long. When Yin Bing saw the cute pink pig, he couldn't help but exclaim, it's really a good ingredient for roasting a suckling pig. As soon as he said that, he was immediately met with an angry gaze. Kitty glared at Nian Bing. Brother, what are you talking about? You're not allowed to have any ideas about Guan. He's so cute, but you actually want to roast him to eat. Nian Bing said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, Kitty. This is just a habit of my job. Kitty snorted and said, Guan is the cutest. When he was born, he was very clean and cute, and his big ears would stand up from time to time, like a clean little pig official. I call him Guan. Guan, don't be afraid. Big sister will protect you. No one will hurt you. The pink piggy kept trying to hide in Kitty's arms, only revealing its fat but to sway outside. After hearing Kitty's words, its courage seemed to grow a little, and it poked its head out of Kitty's arms to look outside. When its small eyes saw Feng Nu, surprisingly there was no fear, and it seemed to be a little excited. A dark red light flashed in its small eyes. Feng Nu's eyes showed a trace of surprise and said, Kitty, where did you get all these pets? Kitty giggled and said, of course they were raised by my father. However, they don't seem to be fully formed yet. I was afraid that I would be lonely on the road, so I brought them all out. Anyway, they have a contract with me. I summon you in the name of Shi Yun. Come out, my pet, faint. As the last pet summoned by Kitty, when the cow's huge body appeared, it immediately outshone the other 3 pets. It mooed twice and came to Kitty's side. Hearing the cry of the cow, the fox that had been lying on the back of the big mouse, Tian Tian, suddenly raised its head. Its small eyes emitted a trace of obscene light. With a fierce leap, its fiery red figure suddenly hung below the cow's belly. Upon closer inspection, it was actually the fox that had bitten one of the cow's nipples and was sucking in big mouthfuls. Kitty said unhappily, Then, you're the naughtiest. A pig, a cow, a fox, and a big mouse made up Kitty's 4 main summoned beasts. Although on the surface, these pets didn't seem to be anything, Nian Bing faintly felt that these summoned beasts were not simple. Feng Nu took out a bag of rice from the kitchen and scattered the rice on the ground. The big gray mouse and the pink pig Guan rushed out almost at the same time and buried themselves in the pile of rice and didn't come out. The cow was angrily roaring and wanted to throw the fox off, but at this time the fox had already grabbed its lower abdomen, and no matter how hard it tried, it couldn't stop its milk from flowing into the fox's stomach. Kitty comforted, "Faint, be good. There's nothing to eat here. Let it drink some of your milk. Do you want to eat some rice too?" Faint's huge eyes were filled with innocence. Nian Bing didn't doubt that if the fox was on the ground now, it would immediately trample it to death. "Nian Bing, let's also start." Feng Nu's calm voice suddenly sounded in Nian Bing's ears. Nian Bing looked at her, and Feng Nu also looked at her. The sadness of parting spread in Nian Bing's chest, and she nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you." Feng Nu floated up, and in a flash she had already arrived at the casting furnace at the corner of the wall. The dark red nine-leaved dough cheese set off her pink long hair, and with a light shout, she actually lifted up the heavy casting furnace, and with a leap, she had already arrived at the center of the courtyard and put down the furnace. Looking at Nian Bing, she said, "Wait for me." After a while, Feng Nu had already added various materials under the casting furnace, obviously for burning purposes. Just like how Feng Nu didn't know how to cook, Nian Bing also didn't know a thing about casting, and could only stand at the side and wait in silence. Kitty was playing with her pet at the side. That big rat Tian Tian had a huge appetite, and 80% of the bag of rice went into his big stomach. Although the little pink pig Guan ate less, he was still eating and didn't even raise his head. A red light flashed, and a familiar smell attracted Nian Bing's attention. She didn't know when the righteous Yang saber had already landed on the casting furnace, but on the hilt of the righteous Yang saber there was already a hollowed-out pattern, which was exactly the same as her fire god stone. The edges of the carving were a little rough. Obviously, the strength of this fire dragon's horn was extremely difficult to damage. Feng Nu walked out with the parting heaven sword in hand. Nian Bing nodded and said, "You help me with the bellows. Remember, your movements have to be stable. Let's start now." Feng Nu's entire body emitted a scorching aura, but fortunately, Nian Bing was on the other side of the furnace, so he wasn't affected by the heat from her body. A strong red light appeared around her body, and with a point of her hand, a ray of red light suddenly shot into the furnace. The fire in the furnace suddenly rose, but it wasn't an ordinary red flame, but a white flame, which lit up the entire courtyard. Everything was the same as when she was forging the morning dew dagger, except this time, Feng Nu was much more relaxed than Hua Tian. It was obvious that her 9 abandonment battle energy was above Hua Tian's. With a light shout, the parting heaven sword was unsheathed, and a scorching wave of fire followed the parting heaven sword to the tail of the righteous Yang saber. The white flame rose from below, and when it met the light of the parting heaven sword, the white flame suddenly turned green. Without needing Feng Nu's reminder, Nian Bing immediately began to pull the bellows. The bellows moved rhythmically in his hands, allowing the white flame to maintain a stable state. Feng Nu's gaze was steady as she looked at the righteous Yang saber in the furnace. Suddenly, she shouted, 9 abandonment heavenly fire. She skipped the process of Hua Tian using his blood as a guide, and the originally red 9 abandonment battle energy instantly turned dark green. In a flash of light, it rushed from the tip of the parting heaven sword into the hollow at the tail of the righteous Yang saber. Nian Bing pulled the bellows with one hand and took out the divine stone of fire from the spatial ring with the other. He shouted to Feng Nu, "Catch!" With a flash of red light, the divine stone of fire was thrown towards Feng Nu. Feng Nu's azure blue eyes suddenly revealed a trace of colorful light, and the dark green battle energy instantly turned into a bright red light. When the divine stone of fire touched the battle energy in her body, it seemed to become a part of her body, shining with a dark blue flame. An incomparably large amount of fire elements surged out and poured into the furnace. Even though Nian Bing had the ability of fire magician and had been with the divine stone of fire for many years, he still couldn't withstand the sudden hot flame. A low-level blue ice shield blocked in front of him, and he immediately gave up on pulling the bellows and took a few steps back. Kitty also moved at this moment. She waved her hands, and her mouth kept calling something. Her 4 precious summoned beasts disappeared in the red light one by one. Obviously, she was afraid that the hot flame would hurt her summoned beasts. Fuse! Feng Nu shouted. The flame-shaped divine stone of fire followed the 3 feet 7 inches long parting heaven sword and accurately embedded into the hollow of the upright yang saber. When the divine stone of fire and the saber fused into one, the originally rough edge suddenly became bright. The hard fire dragon horn seemed to submit to the dark blue flame emitted by the divine stone of fire, and it was completely wrapped in it and fused into one. It was as if they were originally together. Feng Nu looked at Nianbing with a sharp gaze, and the parting heaven sword in her hand turned and slashed towards Nianbing. Nianbing hurriedly chanted a spell and raised his right arm. The purpose of the spell was not to defend, but to bind the magic scroll in his arms so that it wouldn't work. The sword flashed, and blood floated out, but not a single drop was wasted. It fell on the hilt of the upright yang saber under the 9-leaf fighting spirit. The entire upright yang saber turned bright red, and a hot breath rose to the sky. The red saber light was like the sun rising to the sky, and it let out a fierce roar, as if the saber was chanting. Nianbing stood in the same place without moving, and his gaze was firmly locked on the upright yang saber. From the broad body of the saber, he seemed to see Zhaji's figure. The Phoenix Maiden subconsciously took a few steps back from the deep roar. She muttered to herself, "What a powerful fire elemental energy. Unfortunately, it has already recognized me as its master. If it wasn't this divine stone of fire, but a normal gem, it definitely wouldn't be able to be embedded into the material of the fire dragon horn. I really didn't expect that a divine weapon would be born from my hands so quickly." Nianbing had already forgotten everything. In his eyes, there was only the upright yang saber shining with a strong red light. Step by step, he walked towards the fire. The roar of the upright yang saber seemed to be calling out to his heart. Nianbing did not seem to feel the hot air around the fire. He reached out his hand and actually grabbed the upright yang saber in the center of the heat. The roar suddenly became even more intense. Nianbing actually directly grabbed the hilt of the upright yang saber. In an instant, a dark red light soared to the sky, and the fire magic power within Nianbing's body was instantly released. His body and the saber completely became one. With a light ding, the morning dew dagger that was originally in the spatial ring appeared without any warning. The sealing magic array on it was broken by the blue light, and the cold breath forcefully pushed the upright yang saber's hot breath to the right. Nianbing reached out with his left hand and grabbed the sai of the snow goddess. The scabbard was thrown to the side, and the two enormous energies of ice and fire continuously intertwined within his body. The originally rotating vortex of ice and fire was expanding outwards at an incomparable speed. The surface of Nianbing's skin alternated between blue and red, constantly changing between the two colors. The ice and fire elements in the air were like moths drawn to a flame, and the blue morning dew and the red upright yang saber formed a stark contrast. With a light cracking sound, Nianbing's clothes were the first to be unable to withstand the two extremely powerful magic powers tearing at each other. Amidst Feng Nu and Kitty's cries of alarm, Nianbing's sturdy body was exposed to the air. Every inch of his skin was constantly flickering with red and blue light, looking extremely strange. At this time, Feng Nu and Kitty had already turned around. Feng Nu was afraid that the aura emitted by Nianbing's body would harm Kitty, so she tapped her toes on the ground, and under the protection of the rich 9-leaf do qi, she arrived in front of Kitty, protecting her in her arms. "Sister, what's wrong with big brother Nianbing? Why'd he take off his clothes?" Kitty asked in a low voice with a red face. Feng Nu's face was also very red, but because of the color of the 9-leaf do qi, the redness on her face was not obvious. She coughed and said, "Don't worry, your big brother Nianbing is fine. He is a magician, and the gems on those two swords are top-level magic gems." When the flame stone gave the sword a soul, it naturally emitted a huge amount of energy, which triggered the other ice sword. This caused the magic elements to become more intense and tore his clothes. Wait for a while. When the energy on the sword stabilizes, it will be fine. This time, he should have gained quite a bit. Just as Feng Nu said, with such an opportunity, Nian Bing was absorbing the magic elements in the air at a speed 10 times faster than usual and turning them into his own magic power. His magic power was increasing bit by bit, making his ability constantly stronger. At the same time, it also brought him closer to the crisis of ice and fire coming from the same source. Ice God Tower. The ice goddess priestess who was meditating suddenly opened her eyes. It appeared again. This time, there's an energy that I hate. Could it be that the people of the Huarong Empire got it? Oh, Ice Goddess Stone, I will find you. Blue light flashed, and without any warning, the ice goddess priestess disappeared into the blue hexagram that she was sitting cross-legged on. The red and blue light gradually weakened, and Nian Bing also woke up from that strange feeling. The spinning speed of the vortex of ice and fire in his body was obviously faster than before, and the color was also deeper. He could clearly feel that his magic power had increased, and being able to spin was a good thing. He secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Looking at the Yang sword in his hand that was constantly emitting the power of fire, he could not help but praise. What a good roar of the fire god. Your ability is definitely not below morning dew. There was a cough. Nian Bing, shouldn't you find something to cover your body first? Nian Bing was stunned for a moment. Only then did he realize that the clothes on his body had disappeared, and his smooth skin was completely exposed to the air. His brain was hot, and his face suddenly turned red. He immediately summoned a set of rough clothes and put it on himself in a hurry. Embarrassed, it was hard to hide the embarrassment. Being naked in front of two girls, this feeling made Nian Bing want to kill himself. He coughed reluctantly and said, "So, sorry just now that." Feng Nu half turned around to take a peek. Seeing that Nian Bing had already put on his clothes, she pulled the kitty and turned around. "Okay, no need to explain. I've already done what you asked me to do. I don't want any reward. You just need to remember that you owe me once. Let me give you a suggestion. You seem to have a spatial storage magic item on your body. Since that's the case, you don't need to use scabbards for these two swords. Why do you need to hide the sharpness of such treasured swords?" Nian Bing lowered her head and thought for a moment. She immediately understood Feng Nu's meaning. When a magician was facing a warrior, whether or not he could quickly use magic was the key to victory. And whether or not the sword were unsheathed was related to whether these two treasured swords could be used as a magic staff, and whether or not the swords could be used as a magic staff. Glancing at the scabbards that had been thrown to the side, she nodded and said, "You are right. Feng Nu, I have to leave here immediately. The sharpness of the morning dew sword has been exposed. I am afraid that someone will come to find me soon. Although we're going different ways, let's leave together. You should quickly pack up your things." Feng Nu put the parting heaven sword back into its scabbards. She smiled and said, "There is nothing to pack. This is enough. The things that Master left behind, let's leave them here. Who knows when I will come back? Kitty, can I trouble you to wait for us at the door first? I have a few words I want to say to your big brother Nian Bing alone." Kitty's cute little face revealed a sunny smile. "Okay, big sister, hurry up. I will go out first." After saying that, she ran out of the courtyard. Feng Nu looked at Nian Bing, and Nian Bing also looked at her. Both of them felt as if their hearts had skipped a beat. It was still Nian Bing who spoke first. "Is there anything else?" Feng Nu lightly bit her lower lip. Her voice was wrapped in douqi and transmitted into Nian Bing's ears. And I am saying if, we can always be together. Are you willing to accompany me to a place? There may be many things that you will be interested in there. However, after going there, you may not be able to return to the real world." Nian Bing faintly felt something in his heart. He sighed and said, "Feng Nu, do you know? You're the most beautiful girl I have ever seen. To be honest, I really like you. If it wasn't for the fact that I have something that I must do, perhaps I would agree to your request. However, my life does not only belong to me. At the same time, it also belongs to my deceased master and parents. We will always be friends, right? If there is fate, We will definitely meet again. I'm going now. Goodbye. Chun Lu and Zheng Yang were both put into the space ring. Nian Bing lowered his head and walked towards the door. When he passed by Feng Nu, a red light suddenly flashed. Parting Heaven Sword was placed on Nian Bing's shoulder without any warning. An intense pressure, like that of a mountain, made it difficult for him to move. Feng Nu's slightly annoyed voice sounded. I knew you would say that. You rascal. Nian Bing forced himself to turn his head and look at Feng Nu. He found that she was also looking at him. Her blue eyes revealed a faint smile. Feng Nu, if I want to find you in the future, where should I go? Feng Nu asked. Will you find me? Nian Bing smiled and said, We are friends. Why wouldn't I find you? Feng Nu unhappily said, Then just shout Feng Nu 1,000 times and I will appear. Nian Bing chuckled and said, I hope so. I really do know how to shout. The sword left his body and Nian Bing regained his freedom. Feng Nu walked to his side and whispered, I asked Kitty to go out first because I wanted to remind you of one thing. Although ice and fire magic can guarantee your strength, it is also a big problem. On the continent, there are not only the so-called experts. The real masters of martial arts and magic are hidden in the dark. I think that those hermits will be very interested in you. Don't stay in one place for too long. Nian Bing nodded and said, Master also reminded me that this time, staying in Ice Snow City was a last resort. I will not make the same mistake again. Thank you, Feng Nu. Oh, by the way, do you know Kitty Cat? Feng Nu was stunned and said, How did you know? Nian Bing smiled and said, Otherwise, with her identity as the successor of the summoning technique, how could she reveal her secret in front of you so quickly? Actually, I have always felt that you are not as simple as you appear on the surface. But don't worry, I will not ask too much. Everyone has their own secrets. It's good that you know Kitty. Then I will leave her to you. Feng Nu unhappily stared at Nian Bing and said, Don't you understand that sometimes it is not good to be too smart? Nian Bing shrugged and said, Of course I know. If it was someone else, even if I could see through it, I would not say it. Okay, I really have to go now. Feng Nu, we will meet again someday. With that, he opened his arms and fiercely hugged Feng Nu's fragrant body into his arms. Then, he suddenly let go and activated a blizzard scroll. His body was driven by the blizzard and soared into the sky. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared, leaving only a few thin snowflakes in the courtyard. Feng Nu's face was red as she looked at the sky. A strong, strange feeling constantly stimulated her delicate body. It was the first time in her life that the opposite sex was so close to her, but she did not know why. She did not feel disgusted. Nian Bing left, and the feeling of loss constantly attacked her heart. Kitty, come in. We should also go. The door opened, and Kitty, who heard Feng Nu's call, came in from outside. However, the originally lively Kitty now looked a little dull. Feng Nu was just about to simply pack up her things and leave when suddenly she felt that something was wrong. She walked in front of Kitty and looked at her dull expression in confusion. She frowned and said, Kitty, are you okay? Kitty looked at Feng Nu in a daze, but did not say a word. Feng Nu secretly felt that something was wrong. She pressed her palm on Kitty's body. She did not use any strength, but her palm easily passed through Kitty's body. A red light flashed, and Kitty's body disappeared into thin air. On the ground, a cockroach the size of an egg appeared. It looked at Feng Nu in panic, then lowered its head and drilled into the ground, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Feng Nu was stunned for a moment. Then her pretty face showed an angry and amused expression. Kitty, you even dare to lie to me. No wonder you promised so nicely just now. You actually used the phantom magic. She was completely sure that the big cockroach just now was definitely one of Kitty's summoned pets. Its characteristic was that it could transform into a human phantom, and the real Kitty had probably already run away. Helplessly shaking her head, Feng Nu did not chase after Kitty. With her strange magic, it was not difficult for her to get rid of Person. She sighed softly and said to herself, as expected of Hillard's daughter, the pets cultivated by the dragon summoner really have their own characteristics. Forget it, with Hillard's ability, it is not difficult to find his daughter. There is no need for me to force it. I better go to the Longmu Empire as soon as possible and do what I have to do. Nian Bing, you are right. If we are fated, we will definitely meet again. Nian Bing quietly left. Not long after, people from the royal family of the Ice Moon Empire came to Ice City to announce the king's transfer order. However, they could not find Nian Bing no matter what. Although the magic union of the Ice Moon Empire was not valued by the Empire, the name of the union was still there. The king's messenger could not make a decision and could only return. Although the boss of the Great Accomplishment Pavilion, Jin Hao, was not very satisfied with this result, at least Nian Bing, the biggest threat, had left. If he appeared in the Breeze restaurant again, he could ask Marquis Noah to arrest him in the name of disobedience. With the departure of Nian Bing, the business of the Great Accomplishment Pavilion gradually recovered. However, due to the improvement of Ming Yuan's cooking skills, they still could not catch up with the Breeze restaurant. At noon 3 days after Nian Bing left, the boss of the Breeze restaurant, Xue Ji, was looking for his daughter. He found a letter on the table in his daughter's room. The content of the letter was very simple. There were only a few words. Father, I'm going to help you find Nian Bing. How can we give up on such a good chef? Don't miss him. Silence. With the departure of Nian Bing, the commotion caused by the ice and fire chef in Ice City gradually subsided. The city returned to its original state. However, the battle between Xue Ji and Jin Hao did not end. When the Ice Goddess Priestess came to Ice City for the second time to look for the Ice Goddess Stone, the result was still the same. However, this time, the Ice Goddess Priestess's temper was even worse. Marquis Noah was also implicated. Relying on the influence of the Ice Goddess Priestess on the Ice Moon Empire, he could only gradually withdraw from the political scene. Nian Bing did not directly fly out of the city. After all, that would be too eye-catching. Relying on the blizzard magic, he carefully landed in a deserted corner near the south gate of the Ice Moon Empire. After that, he swaggered out of the second largest city in the Ice Moon Empire. Walking on a wide road, Nian Bing felt an indescribable comfort in his heart. To him, Ice City was like a huge cage. Although there were many beauties that attracted him, the feeling of being restrained was unbearable. Fortunately, he had completed everything that he wanted to do. The Righteous Yang Sword had gained another title, the Roar of the God of Fire. In the process of learning from Ming Yuan, he had also learned some details about cooking. The most valuable thing was that he had become Long Ji's disciple. In 3 months, he had finally filled in the gaps in his knowledge of magic theory. Although there were still many things that he did not understand, at least he had memorized them. Understanding required time. As long as the knowledge was in his mind, this time was just a process. Nian Bing had full confidence in his own intelligence. There were tall trees on both sides of the road. From the looks of it, these trees were at least decades old. The shade of the trees blocked the rays of the sun, bringing a cool breeze. The fresh air was refreshing. Nian Bing was not in a hurry. As he walked slowly, he thought about the magic knowledge that he did not understand in his mind. Just as he was immersed in his own sea of magic, a sudden voice startled him. Big brother Nian Bing, you are so slow. I have been waiting for you for a long time. This voice was very familiar. There was a hint of anticipation in the excitement. Nian Bing, who thought that he had escaped from Ice City, subconsciously looked at a big tree by the road. He said helplessly, Kitty, why aren't you with Feng Nu? Why are you here? He was surprised. After all, when he was in Ice City, he had flown for a period of time. The speed of flying was naturally not comparable to walking. However, Kitty had run in front of him. Kitty smiled sweetly and jumped out from behind the tree. Big brother Nian Bing, don't you want to see me? Daddy always says that Kitty is very cute. As she said that, her fair little face could not help but show an aggrieved expression. Nian Bing frowned slightly and said, Kitty, answer Big Brother's question first. Kitty lowered her head and said, Big sister wants to send me back, but I don't want to go back. If I go back, I'm afraid Daddy won't let me out again. Big brother, I don't know anyone, and I don't have money to eat. Just let me follow you. Kitty will be very obedient and obedient. Nian Bing smiled bitterly and said, I have only known you for less than 4 hours. Why are you so sure about me? Kitty giggled and said, because Big Sister Feng Nu said you were a good person. Of course, more importantly, you can cook delicious food. The meal just now was the best meal Kitty has ever eaten. As long as I follow Big Brother, not only will I have fun, but I will also be able to eat delicious food. Of course, Kitty will rely on you. Big Brother, you won't abandon me, right? Nian Bing steeled his heart and put on a cold expression. Why wouldn't I? I don't know you that well. Since we are acquaintances, I will use this money to buy you food on the road. Hurry up and go home. I still have a lot of things to do. How can I take you along? As he said that, he took out a money bag from his chest and put a handful of purple coins back into his pocket. He handed the rest of the money bag to Kitty and turned around to leave. He faintly felt that this Kitty was definitely a huge trouble for him. It was better to stay away from her. With the money bag in her hand, Kitty watched as Nian Bing left without looking back. Suddenly, she burst into tears. Big Brother is not a good person. Big Brother bullied Kitty. Kitty is a girl. She is so pitiful to be alone outside. She has no food to eat, no clothes to wear. If she meets bad people, Kitty will die. Big Brother is bad. Big Brother is bad. Big Brother killed Kitty. Woo woo. Chapter 35. Nian Bing was never a cold-hearted person. He could leave Long Ling because Long Ling had the support of her father and the entire Magician's Guild. He could leave Xu Weijing because Xu Weijing's temper was good enough that she didn't bully others. Who would bully her? He could leave Luo Ro because her wisdom was enough to defeat thousands of soldiers and horses. As for Feng Nu, who didn't have any support, her own strength was the best guarantee. Nian Bing was only a little reluctant to leave them, but he wasn't worried about anything. However, the little girl named Xiyun in front of him was different. She had no one to rely on after leaving home. Although she knew some summoning magic, it wasn't enough to protect herself. Coupled with her naive personality, if something really happened to her, he was afraid that Nian Bing didn't stop in his tracks when he thought of this. He secretly asked himself if he could just leave the cat behind. The answer was no. Kitty saw that Nian Bing had stopped and immediately stopped crying. She ran a few steps to Nian Bing's side, grabbed his arm, and said, "Brother Nian Bing, you won't abandon Kitty, right?" If this sentence was said by any of the girls that Nian Bing knew in Ice City, he would definitely feel ambiguous. However, when it was said by the teary-eyed Kitty, he only felt pity in his heart. Turning around to look at Kitty's expectant face, Nian Bing sighed softly. He touched her silky black hair and said, "Tell me, where is your home? Brother will send you back." Kitty blinked her big eyes and said, I forgot. When I left, I was afraid that Dad would find out, so I chose to run out at night. I've long forgotten the way back." Naturally, Nian Bing didn't believe her. "Then can you tell me when you're going to play until you're going home? Don't you miss your parents?" Kitty stuck out her tongue and said, "Of course. But if I go back, I won't be able to come out and play. No matter what, I have to wait until I'm done playing before I can go back. Big Brother, just take me with you. I'll really be very obedient. I'll massage your back and summon Nyonyo to help you carry things." Nian Bing had nothing to say to Kitty. "Let's go first. I think your father will come for you. Remember what you said. Don't make trouble for me on the road and listen to me. Of course, I will always make delicious food for you. That is our promise." He held out his hand to Kitty. Kitty smiled and patted Nian Bing's hand. There was no trace of sadness on her face. Actually, Nian Bing had really underestimated her. She was the daughter of the only dragon summoner on the continent. Did she really not have the ability to protect herself? Kitty summoned her cow and lightly rode on it. This was no longer a city. There weren't many people on the road. Riding on a cow wouldn't attract attention. As they walked, Nian Bing said to Kitty, "How did you run out from Feng Nu's place? I remember seeing you at the door when I left." Kitty giggled and said, "Of course there's a way. You'll know later. Big Brother, since you're a magician, why don't you wear a magic robe? The clothes you're wearing now don't match you at all." Nian Bing said, "You have to keep a low profile. Wearing these coarse clothes is the most comfortable. Kitty, it seems like you haven't changed your clothes in a long time. When we reach the next dormitory, I'll find a place to buy you a new set of clothes. Right, give me back my purse." Kitty spread out her hands and pretended to be innocent. "Purse? Where's the purse? Have I ever taken your money pouch?" Nian Bing, who could still indulge in the flowers in Ice City, couldn't do anything to the girl in front of him. He humphed and said, "Forget it." Then, he didn't say anything and strode forward. Although Kitty's cow looked very fat, it didn't show any signs of fatigue as it followed Nian Bing's footsteps. Although Nian Bing didn't pay attention to Kitty, she still had a lot of fun. As long as there was no one on the road, she would alternately summon her pets to play. However, as soon as the fox called Nana appeared, the cow would immediately stop. The cow's eyes would show anger, so Kitty could only summon Mouse and Little Pink Pig to play. In order to not get angry, Nian Bing controlled himself and didn't talk to Kitty. Kitty was also very self-aware. Along the way, as long as someone passed by, she would immediately return the pets in her arms. She didn't cause any trouble. Nian Bing didn't plan to travel the continent in any particular order. Other than going to the capital of the Huarong Empire in 10 months to represent the Ice Moon Empire's magic guild in the competition, he had nothing else to do. So his current goal was naturally to go to the southeast of the Ice Moon Empire, the Ottoman Empire. When he reached there, he could also help Luo Ro complete the task entrusted to him. Of course, Nian Bing also had his own thoughts. When he first came to Ice Snow City with his master, the beautiful young woman gave him the Tianhua token. From a certain point of view, the young woman could be said to be his savior. If there was a chance, he also wanted to find a young woman and use his culinary skills to thank her. Nian Bing suddenly realized a very important problem. When he left Ice Snow City, he was in too much of a hurry. He didn't even buy a map of the continent. Now that he was in the dark, it seemed that he could only rely on his luck to travel to the southeast. He didn't know how far it was from here to the capital of the Ottoman Empire. "Brother, I'm hungry." Kitty finally couldn't help but speak up for Nian Bing. Nian Bing turned around to look at the pitiful Kitty, then looked around and said, "This place is in the middle of nowhere. What do you want me to get you food? It's only been 2 hours since lunch. I remember that you ate a lot at that time." Kitty stuck out her tongue and said, "I'm still developing. Of course I eat a lot. Brother, I'm hungry." Faced with this cute girl, Nian Bing felt helpless. "All right, let's rest by the roadside for a while. I didn't bring anything to eat. If you really want to eat, I don't mind turning this cow into a delicacy for you. Of course, mice and pigs are fine too." Hee hee. Looking at Nian Bing's mischievous smile, Kitty's eyes revealed a vigilant look. Brother is so bad. He's always thinking about other people's precious pets. They can't be eaten. At this moment, she seemed to have felt something. Her black eyes suddenly lit up. Nian Bing clearly felt a wave of psychic energy emanating from Kitty and spreading to the surroundings. The ground shook slightly, and a small body drilled out. Soon, it arrived in front of Kitty and made a rustling sound. It was the first time that Nian Bing had seen such a big cockroach. She was shocked. Kitty flipped down from the cow's back and pinched the big cockroach from the ground. She giggled and said, "Thank you. Let's go back." With a flash of red light, the cockroach disappeared from her hand. Nian Bing said in surprise, "This is your pet too?" Kitty nodded and said, "Of course. It was because of it that I was able to stabilize Sister Feng Nu and escape. It's called Chong Chong. It's very obedient. It can distinguish my scent and can find me even if I'm far away. Also, it can change into all kinds of illusions. What you saw when you left Sister Phoenix Girl's place was me that it transformed into. It's very powerful, right?" Nian Bing was very interested in summoning magic. She couldn't help but ask curiously, "Where did you get the skills of these pets? Although they look very ordinary on the surface, there are many extraordinary things about them. Could it be that they were born with them?" Kitty said, "Of course not. They were all cultivated by Dad using a special method. However, their skills are random. I only discovered them one by one after I made a contract with them. So, big brother, don't underestimate Kitty." There was a look of respect in Nian Bing's eyes as he said sincerely, "Then your father must be a great summoning mage. If there's a chance, I'd like to ask him for advice." Kitty shook her head and said, No, Dad is very fierce. You'd better not see him. Except for Mom, no one can control Dad. If he comes, Kitty's little but will be in trouble." Nian Bing laughed and said, "You've got guts. If I were your father, I'd definitely spank you after catching you. Who told you to be so disobedient and run away from home. As he spoke, he took Kitty to the shade of the roadside and sat down. After walking for a long time, as a magician, he was indeed a little tired. Kitty didn't avoid arousing suspicion and sat down next to Nian Bing. The cow was also well-behaved and went to the roadside to eat grass by itself. "Big brother, what are you going to make for me to eat?" Kitty looked around curiously, then looked at Nian Bing. Nian Bing smiled bitterly and said, "I came out in a hurry, so I didn't bring anything. I think there are only wild vegetables here that can be eaten, but I don't even have seasoning with me. How can I make it? You'd better bear with it for a while. Or, drinking some milk from your cow is also a good choice. If we can find some wild animals or a village, food will be easy to solve." Although he was a chef, it was impossible for him to carry all the cooking tools with him. Kitty's eyes lit up. She said, "Wild animals are enough? That's too easy. Big brother, wait a moment. Look at Kitty. However, I'm only responsible for attracting the wild animals. You're responsible for killing them." As she spoke, her black eyes flashed, and her spiritual energy fluctuated violently. "I summon you in the name of Shiyun. Come out, my pet, Nana." A red hexagram appeared in front of them, and the thievish-looking fox came out of thin air. Nana blinked her small eyes. When she saw the cow, she immediately became spirited. Just as she was about to rush over to drink the delicious milk, Kitty grabbed the fiery red hair on the back of her neck and lifted her up. "Nana, don't be naughty. You have to help Kitty." Nana impatiently squeaked a few times, and her thievish little eyes kept glancing at the cow. The cow obviously felt her breath, and its eyes looked unfriendly as it growled. It seemed that it would raise its head at any time and use its rich and powerful milk to attack Na. Kitty pointed to the bushes at the side and said, "Na, go and pee. Hurry up. After you're done, I'll let you go and play with Faint." Nana blinked her eyes again, as if she was thinking. After a long time, she reluctantly nodded. Kitty put her on the ground, and Nana rolled over. She immediately ran to the bushes and lifted her leg. Her peeing posture was no different from a dog's. The fishy smell came with the breeze. Nian Bing and Kitty both subconsciously covered their noses. Nana let out a cheerful cry, as if it was very comfortable. It sped up and pounced on the cow. Faye didn't really use her milk to shoot it. She only lifted her front paw and kicked it. Nana's body was very agile. Its body that was originally moving in a straight line suddenly turned and came under Faint's body. It bit her nipple and sucked it in big mouthfuls. Nian Bing looked at Kitty in confusion and said, "Can this fox's pee attract wild animals?" Kitty giggled and said, "Yes. Nana's pee is very special. The taste is not bad, right?" Nian Bing said unhappily, "Not bad, my ass. This fox has nothing that I like except for its fur. The taste of fox meat is not good. It's very smelly. It seems that its pee is even more smelly." Kitty said unhappily, "You can't say that about Nana. Nana is actually very smart. Among my pets, Nana is the military." Nian Bing burst out laughing. "I've only heard of a dog-headed military advisor before. I didn't expect to see a fox-headed military advisor now. If there's a chance, I'll see how smart it is. Is it just drinking milk?" As they were talking, Nian Bing suddenly heard a rustling sound not far behind him. He stood up with some surprise and looked into the bushes. He saw an animal slowly approaching in his direction. It seemed to be smelling something. It looked like a deer but was small. Its fur was yellow and black, and it had no horns. Its limbs were long and slender, and its hind limbs were longer than its forelimbs. It was a water deer. This water deer was not small. Its canine teeth were well developed, and fangs could be faintly seen. It was obviously the first time that Kitty had seen this kind of animal. "Brother Nian Bing, what is this thing?" Nian Bing made a gesture to Kitty to keep quiet. He pulled her behind the tree. With a wave of his right hand, under the infusion of magic power, a blue light suddenly appeared. It was the wind of freedom's soft chant, "Proud Heavenblade." The water deer's speed was not fast. Nian Bing focused his attention and suddenly jumped out from behind the tree. He fiercely slashed the air with his blade. Although he did not know any martial arts, he had the best quality sword in his hand. A blue light flashed from the proud Heavenblade, bringing along a wind blade. This level of wind blade was naturally nothing to a martial artist, but it was enough to deal with this water deer. The water deer's head was immediately separated from its body. Kitty covered her eyes and said angrily, "Brother, you're so cruel. You actually killed so casually." Nian Bing said unhappily, "If I don't kill it, what are you going to eat? If you don't like it, you don't have to eat it later. Come with me quickly. We'll deal with it in the forest." As he spoke, he walked to the water deer's side and picked up its body. After letting the blood flow out of the wound, he took the lead and walked into the forest. Kitty did not dare to look at the dead water deer's appearance. She hid beside the cow and followed Nian Bing into the forest. However, the fox seemed to be very interested in the water deer in Nian Bing's hand. It jumped around him as if it wanted to eat it. Walking into the forest, Nian Bing instantly cast a level 1 frost spell to seal the water deer's head. Just as he was about to continue the next step, Kitty came over and asked, "Brother, what kind of animal is this? Can it really be eaten?" Nian Bing glanced at her and said, "My real profession is a chef. If I can't even tell what can be eaten and what can't be eaten, then I don't need to work in this profession. Learn from me, this is a water deer. Look, its canine teeth are showing from its lips. It's obviously a male water deer. Moreover, there's a faint fragrance coming from its body. If I'm not wrong, this is a fragrant water deer. It seems that our luck is really good." Kitty was attracted by Nian Bing's words. She asked doubtfully, "Brother, what's a fragrant water deer?" A light flashed in Nian Bing's hand, and the proud heaven saber appeared again. It did not touch the water deer's body, but directly cut its head. As he moved, he said, "A water deer is a kind of animal. It looks a little like a deer, but it's smaller. The male water deer's canine teeth are larger, and its body has a musk fragrance. It's a good ingredient for delicious food. It's quite good for medicinal cuisine. Today, you can eat it orally." As he spoke, he had already taken the water deer's 2 canine teeth. Then, he threw the water deer's head to Fox Na, who was salivating at the side. "Eat it aside. Don't let me smell the foul smell on your body." Nian Bing laid the water deer's body flat. With a flash of a saber in his hand, he immediately opened a hole in the water deer's abdomen. The fragrance instantly became 10 times stronger. Nian Bing carefully tore a piece of cloth from his clothes and laid it flat on the ground. He reached into the water deer's abdomen and took out some sticky yellow crystals. He carefully placed them on the cloth. "It's really a water deer. Do you see? This yellow thing is called musk. It's the most precious thing on the water deer's body. In the past, when my master taught me how to cook, he once showed me an introduction to all kinds of meat materials. When he talked about the water deer, he mentioned that the water deer is the male water deer with musk. The male water deer's breath is called water deer, and the female water deer's breath is called water deer. Among them, the male water deer's breath is called water deer. This water deer's whole body is a treasure, especially this musk. When used as a spice, it has a strong fragrance retention and can also drive away all kinds of small insects. If used as a medicinal material, it can open the meridians and open the orifices. Later, I'll make a gift for you with these musk." When Kitty heard that she would get a gift, she had already forgotten the bloody scene just now. Okay, what are you going to give me?" Nian Bing smiled slightly and said, "Don't worry. Let's eat first." He carefully took out all the musk, wrapped it in cloth, and put it aside. His exquisite knife skills unfolded. When he removed the water deer's skin, he perfectly preserved all the water deer's meat. Taking advantage of the ice, Nian Bing pulled out all the water deer's internal organs and threw them aside. Then he broke off a relatively straight branch from a big tree and pierced the water deer through it. When he was doing this, his proud heaven blade was not idle. A small tree was completely chopped into firewood. If Shueji knew that he used the proud heaven blade like this, he wondered if he would feel bad. Nian Bing used a rank 1 fireball spell casually. The firewood immediately burned. There was no water here, but Nian Bing had ice magic. After the baptism and rubbing of the ice flowers, the water deer's body had already been washed away. Nian Bing looked at the water deer and thought for a while, then said, "It's a pity that there is no suitable seasoning here. Otherwise, it would be perfect. Just make do with it." As he said that, he began to roast the water deer over the fire. He did not use a wooden frame like ordinary barbecue. Instead, he relied on the strength of his arms to rotate the branch in his hand. Nian Bing moved the water deer far away from the fire and rotated it very carefully. His hands were very stable, and his attention was completely focused on the water deer. Kitty asked doubtfully, "Brother, father has roasted meat for me before, but it didn't seem to be as far away as you. You're so far away from the fire. Can you roast it well?" Nian Bing smiled indifferently and said, "In terms of magic, I may be far inferior to your father. But when it comes to cooking, I'm afraid that he is not as good as me. Don't you know that we don't have any seasoning right now? Usually, barbecued meat needs to be brushed with sauce and oil to ensure that the meat won't burn. However, we don't have anything right now. If we want the deer meat to be delicious and not burn, we can only use its own oil. This water deer is fat enough. First, we have to roast the oil out of its body and then gradually roast it. This way, it will be cooked evenly and the taste will be at its best. You can rest at the side for a while and wait to eat." He did not have any more seasoning, but as the most important ingredient, salt, Nian Bing still carried it with him. However, he was not in a hurry to sprinkle the salt on it. He only carefully rotated the water deer. His movements were neither fast nor slow, and he always maintained a stable frequency. Just as Nian Bing said, the oil gradually appeared during the roasting. Nian Bing gradually lowered the water deer in his hand. At the same time, he slowly transferred his fire magic power into the water deer meat. With the increase of his magic power, the water deer gradually turned red. At this time, Nian Bing picked out some of the musk that he had made before and used the proud heaven blade to carefully smear it on the water deer. The proud heaven blade was worthy of being called a top-notch treasured sword. The oil was actually unable to touch it. After doing all this, it was still as bright as before. The green radiance was as moving as the autumn water. Nian Bing, who was focused on roasting the meat, and Kitty, who was sniffing the fragrance and wiping her saliva at the side, did not notice that danger was approaching them. The faint fragrance gradually became stronger. The unique smell of musk and the fragrance produced by the roasting sound effectively merged together. It was a fragrance that made people drool. Kitty did not drool much. That cunning fox had already given up on the water deer head and was obediently squatting beside the kitty. Its saliva was dripping down and its eyes were filled with greed. Only the vegetarian cow, faint, was not tempted by the fragrance at this time and was leisurely eating his grass. After half an hour, the water deer in Nian Bing's hand had turned completely golden. Kitty and the fox who were waiting at this time were already staring straight at it. Nian Bing took turns roasting the water deer. If it was not for his many years of practice, he definitely would not have been able to last for such a long time. No matter what, this water deer was about 20 jin. Smiling slightly, Nian Bing glanced at the human and beast beside him. "Look at you two. It looks like you haven't eaten for many days. It's done." As he spoke, he took out the salt he had brought from the space ring and sprinkled it evenly on the water deer. He did not use much salt in order to make the water deer's fragrance not be covered by the taste of the salt. Just as Kitty and the fox were about to rush up together, Faint suddenly raised his huge head. The brown hair on his back suddenly stood up, and he let out a low moo. It seemed to be a threatening moo. As he moaned, Nianbing and Kitty retreated, as if he had encountered some kind of danger. The proud heaven blade in Nianbing's hand trembled slightly. The surrounding wind elements clearly became stronger, and a light moan came from the blade. Nianbing immediately understood the meaning of the proud heaven blade. Among the 3 blades he owned, the sigh of the snow goddess and the roar of the fire god were completed with his own blood and were more intimate. However, the moan of the wind of freedom was not weak either. When Nianbing used it to display his fastest knife skills, they had already reached a tacit understanding. The moan of the proud heaven blade only had one meaning, and that was a warning sign. Nianbing casually handed the branch with the deer on it to Kitty and pulled her behind him. He whispered, "Stay close to me. I'm afraid there's danger." As he spoke, the moan of the wind of freedom floated away, and in exchange, the roar of the fire god and the sigh of the snow goddess were heard. The morning dew dagger could be ignored, but it had to be prepared. After all, there was no telling how strong the unknown enemy would be. If it was to save his life, he could not care less about anything else. A hissing sound rang out, and a strange look appeared in Nian Bing's eyes. Just what was it? The sound came from behind a tall bush. Nian Bing calmly looked at the bush, and her mouth had already begun to chant an incantation. Nana poked her head out from under Nian Bing's feet. Suddenly, her whole body trembled as she jumped back into Kitty's arms. Kitty was stunned for a moment. Nian Bing said, "Big brother, Nana seems to be very scared. That thing seems to be very dangerous. You must be careful." Nian Bing nodded. He pointed the broad, righteous Yang saber forward, and a fist-sized rank 1 fireball floated out. Under the control of her spiritual power, it drew a beautiful arc in the air and shot towards the back of the bush. At the same time, she had already prepared an even stronger spell. The fireball left a trail of sparks behind the thicket, and an angry roar that shook the earth rang out. A huge black shadow stood up from behind the thicket, and the thicket that was originally more than 5 feet tall only reached up to its chest. With a roar, its huge body pressed forward, and the thicket was completely knocked down, revealing its robust body. Nian Bing stared at the creature in front of her with wide eyes. Heavens! What is this thing? It was indeed a creature she had never heard of before. On the surface, it was about 3 feet tall. Its upper body was upright, and its whole body was covered with an iron-gray cuticle. It looked extremely solid, and its body was similar to a large lizard, but it was obviously much bigger than a lizard. There were 2 rows of black, fin-like things on its back, and 2 strong and thick hind legs supported its huge body. Its long tail dragged behind it, and when it roared, it revealed huge sword teeth in its mouth. From head to tail, it was nearly 2 feet long. Its forelimbs were obviously much smaller than its hind limbs, but its claws were bigger. Nian Bing had every reason to believe that it could easily tear her body apart. As the earth trembled, the monster stepped out of the bush. Its dark green eyes stared at Kitty behind Nian Bing. To be precise, it was staring at the deer in Kitty's hand. An excited voice came from behind Kitty. "Wow, it's actually a cute, ironback, saber-toothed lizard. It's so big, I'm afraid it's over 100 years old." Cute? Nian Bing didn't think that the big guy in front of her was cute at all. The invisible aura it emitted was so oppressive that she couldn't breathe. Did it want to eat the deer? If she could use a deer in exchange for it to leave, she would be lucky. "Kitty, since you recognize this creature, does it have any special characteristics?" Yes. Dad once told me that the ironback saber-toothed lizard is ferocious. Once it sees other creatures, it will definitely turn them into its food. There's no chance of luck. He also specially told me that if I encounter this kind of thing, it's best to turn around and run. If I can't run away, I should let the cow feed it. It should be enough for it to eat for a while. Brother Nian Bing, quickly help me catch it. If I can take it as my pet, I won't be afraid of being bullied in the future. Nian Bing retreated step by step with Kitty. Easy for you to say. Let's save our lives first. Can you order your cow to die? I'll try using magic. Maybe I can beat it back. However, the cuticle on its body seems to be very hard. The ironback, saber-toothed lizard glared at them. For some reason, it wasn't in a hurry to attack. Kitty didn't seem to be worried about her own safety at all. Fane has already run behind us. I'm afraid it won't be easy to send it to its death. Brother Nian Bing, let me tell you a piece of bad news. The ironback saber-toothed lizard is also called the ironback earth dragon. Although it's not a real dragon, it has some dragon blood in it, so it's immune to some magic. I remember Dad said that a normal ironback saber-toothed lizard is immune to all magic of the 4th level and below. Hearing Kitty say this, Nian Bing immediately breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I can use magic up to the 6th level at most. Kitty giggled and said, Brother, but the ironback saber-toothed lizard in front of you that's over 100 years old isn't a normal ironback saber-toothed lizard. Dad also said that an ironback saber-toothed lizard that's over 100 years old is immune to all magic of the 6th level and below. Although it's not like a real dragon that's immune to all magic of the 8th level and below, I'm afraid your magic is just a tickle to it. Chapter 36. Nian Bing's heart was filled with the desire to turn around and strangle Kitty. At this time, she was still in the mood to be excited. Immune to all magic of rank 6 and below, heavens. Then how to fight? One must know that she was a magician. If she was alone, she was very sure that she could use the ice and fire magic to confuse this ironback earth dragon's line of sight, and then use Blizzard to fly away. But now the trouble was, with Kitty here, with Blizzard's ability, it was impossible to fly away with 2 people. How could she leave her behind? Nian Bing's heart was filled with selfishness, but she immediately dispelled the idea. Absolutely not. The previously prepared firewall was released through the fire god's roar, and Nian Bing immediately turned around and said to Kitty, "Quickly take your pets and run as far as you can. Leave this to me." Firewall was a rank 4 magic. The flames up to 2 feet high immediately blocked the ironback earth dragon's advance. Kitty looked at Nian Bing in surprise. "Big brother Nian Bing, but you are a magician. You can't beat it." Nian Bing anxiously said, "I told you to run. Run. Hurry up. I'm here. If you can't beat me, won't you be entangled? Quickly run." Kitty looked at Nian Bing's anxious eyes, and that touch of concern, her big black eyes seemed to have something more. She complied, turned around, and chased after her cow. That cow Whitey and Fox Whitey were running faster than each other. They were already several tens of meters away. Seeing Kitty also running over, they immediately let out a cheerful cry. Nian Bing didn't have time to pay attention to how Kitty ran. She turned around, her eyes revealing a dignified expression, and in a low voice, she chanted the incantation she was good at. "Great fire god, please allow me to borrow your left hand. Let the flames descend to the world. Extinguish all evil forces. Let the flames illuminate the earth. Destroy all obstacles in front." The left hand of the Vulcan. A huge shadow passed through the firewall. Just as Kitty said, the Tier 4 firewall had no effect on it all. The ironback earth dragon that was originally focused on the delicious food seemed to have been enraged by the firewall. With a roar, it ferociously charged towards Nian Bing. The Blizzard Scroll brought Nian Bing's body to the side. Because he had to control Vulcan's left hand, he did not fly too high. The ironback earth dragon didn't seem to be interested in him at all. It suddenly sped up and chased after Kitty. The trees and shrubs in front of it couldn't stop it at all under the pressure of its huge body. Nian Bing was a little flustered. Kitty wasn't running fast, and with the ironback earth dragon's speed, it wouldn't take long to catch up to her. Vulcan's left hand clenched tightly, and under Nian Bing's full control, it flew past the ironback earth dragon's body like a meteor. With a fierce turn, it heavily bombarded the ironback earth dragon's chest. Sparks flew everywhere. Relying on Vulcan's roar, Vulcan's left hand displayed a power close to the Tier 6. Even if the ironback earth dragon's defense was strong, it couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. Its forward momentum came to a halt. The ironback earth dragon turned around, its dark green eyes filled with savagery. It was obviously very dissatisfied with Nian Bing, who was like a housefly. Nian Bing knew that at this time, only her ice and fire homology could deal with this big guy in front of her. Taking a deep breath, just like when she faced Long Ji, her right hand returned the sigh of the snow goddess and exchanged it for the frost staff. "Oh, great god of fire, please allow me to borrow your left hand, to let flames descend upon the world, to extinguish all evil forces. Let the flames illuminate the earth, to destroy all obstacles that obstruct the path ahead." Vulcan's left hand. Flames flared up, and a huge Vulcan's left hand appeared on Nian Bing's left side. "Great ice elemental, condense, transform into the ice of an ancient cold river, transform into the ice of a solid moonlight, the fusion of ice and ice, appear, dual-colored ice sphere." Pointing the frost staff at an angle, blue specks of light unceasingly condensed, and a huge ice sphere full of ice spikes, half light blue, half dark blue, appeared. The Ironback Earth Dragon's intelligence wasn't very low. It originally wanted to continue chasing Kitty, but it suddenly felt a pressure coming from the air. It couldn't help but stop its footsteps, as if it had realized something. With a low roar, it took off running, still chasing after Kitty. Nian Bing was anxious. He knew that he didn't have time to compress magic. With a loud shout, the dual-colored ice sphere and Vulcan's left hand were thrown out at the same time. The red and blue light passed the Ironback Earth Dragon's body from both sides, hitting at the same point not far in front of it. The magic that wasn't compressed was relatively stable, and it was easier for Nian Bing to control it. In addition, before leaving Ice Snow City, he used the Stone of Fire God and the Stone of Snow Goddess to enhance his magical power, making it easy for him to control this magic. The Frost Staff and the Righteous Yang Sword were in front of him at the same time, and he shouted, "Ice and Fire Homology." Vulcan's left hand and the dual-colored ice sphere suddenly collided in the air. Under the control of Nian Bing, a huge explosive force suddenly hit back at the Ironback Earth Dragon that was rushing forward. The Ironback Earth Dragon roared. Its huge body suddenly curled up, and the fin-like protrusions on its back suddenly turned golden. The explosive force caused by the ice and fire homology was indeed powerful. Although it wasn't compressed, the power of the explosion was still equivalent to the peak of the 7th rank magic. The surrounding vegetation was blown away by the powerful explosive force, and the soil splashed up nearly 10 meters high. Nian Bing's face was a little pale as he landed on the ground. He had used a few powerful spells in succession, and had already used up half of his mana. Even though the ice and fire magic was very resilient, the amount of mana was still the biggest barrier that limited a mage's abilities. The dust gradually dispersed, and Nian Bing was stunned to see that the Ironback Earth Dragon actually slowly stood up. The cuticle on its body had completely turned golden, and, at the same time, its eyes had also turned from dark green to blood red. With a furious roar, the surrounding forest trembled. Unexpectedly, under the effect of the peak of the 7th rank magic, there wasn't even a trace of injury on its body. The next moment, that huge body, carrying an incomparably berserk charge, suddenly rushed towards Nian Bing's direction. Roaring in succession, the sound waves shook Nian Bing to the point that he was unable to concentrate on chanting the incantation. In desperation, he had no choice but to take out 2 scrolls, the scrolls used to carry out the ice and fire homology attack. Although the power wouldn't be stronger than the previous attack, this was also the only way he could deal with it. Just at this time, Kitty's clear and melodious voice suddenly sounded. "Whitey spray. Tion, charge." 8 milky white radiances struck the Ironback Earth Dragon's huge body from the side like lightning, immediately shaking its momentum. At this time, the cow Whitey had already rushed to a place not far away. Her 2 front hooves had just landed. A gray-black figure wrapped in a gray fog charged in front of the Ironback Earth Dragon. With a loud bang, the gray figure was sent flying, and the Ironback Earth Dragon's momentum finally came to a stop. Kitty had already run back at an unknown time. In her arms, she was still carrying that little pink pig Guan and was glaring angrily at the Ironback Earth Dragon. Seeing that she had returned, Nian Bing immediately became anxious. "Kitty, why are you so disobedient? What did you come back for? Hurry up and run." While saying that, he shook his hand and threw out the 2 scrolls. Taking a deep breath, he quickly chanted the incantation for the 2nd time. The powerful attack of the homogeneous ice and fire once again turned the Ironback Earth Dragon's target to her. At this time, Nian Bing's heart was already devoid of anger and joy. Her eyes were completely fixed on the huge monster in front of her, without the slightest intention of retreating. After being hit by the homogeneous ice and fire twice in succession, although it didn't injure the Ironback Earth Dragon, the pain brought by the bombardment of the 2 extremes of ice and fire was extremely severe. It fiercely lowered its head, and a golden light shone from its back. More than 10 golden radiances carried a strong sonic boom as they directly attacked Nian Bing. This time, the Ironback Earth Dragon finally used its own unique skill. Kitty cried out in alarm. "Guan, quickly use your unique skill, Beast, Blood, Boiling." The original little pink pig Guan, at this time, actually emitted an exceptionally powerful aura. Its body rushed out from Kitty's arms, displaying a speed that was completely inconsistent with its body. Its body swelled 10 times like a balloon. Bloody light lingered around its body, and it fiercely collided with the Ironback Earth Dragon. However, no matter how fast it moved, it was definitely not faster than light. Those golden rays of light had already attacked Nianbing. Ice, fire, same origin. Gathering the last of her magic power, Nianbing once again activated the same origin of ice and fire. This time, under the extreme concentration of his spiritual energy, the volume of the spell was reduced by a third. An enormous amount of magic power instantly exploded, forming an energy vortex that completely engulfed the dozen or so golden lights. The strongest part of the Ironback Earth Dragon was its body. Although the golden light could attack from a distance, it wasn't as powerful as it looked. When a magic's explosive power collided with its own energy, it immediately canceled each other out. Under the huge impact, the Ironback Earth Dragon couldn't help but sway a little. And at this time, Guan, who had fully activated his Beast Blood Boil, rushed to its body. With a bang, the Ironback Earth Dragon that didn't even get blown away by the same origin of ice and fire was actually knocked flying by Guan. It rolled a few times on the ground, and the place where it was knocked into was blood red. The golden luster emitted from its body was continuously converging toward that blood red area, as if it was dissolving its own wounds. Guan also didn't feel good. His enlarged body bounced back like a rubber ball. When he once again fell into Kitty's bosom, he had already returned to his original size. He closed his eyes as if he was very tired. Nianbing's whole body swayed, barely controlling her body to not fall down, but a trace of blood still couldn't help but flowed down from the corner of her mouth. The Ironback Earth Dragon's defense was indeed too strong. Even if he exhausted all of his magic power, he still couldn't cause a trace of damage to it. An ear-piercing scream suddenly came from Kitty's mouth. The Ironback Earth Dragon that had already stood up suddenly rolled over and fell to the ground again. It looked like it was in great pain. Although the scream wasn't aimed at Nianbing, he still felt as if his brain was pricked by a needle. His body swayed, and he suddenly fell to the ground. But he was still awake at this time, for words flashed in his mind, spiritual magic. When Kitty screamed just now, her spiritual power shot out like a sharp awl. Even Nianbing, who thought that his spiritual power was strong, definitely couldn't compare to it. The pale-faced Kitty ran a few steps to Nianbing's side. She seemed to be very weak. "Nianbing Gidge, let's go quickly. It's all Kitty's fault. I harmed you." While saying that, she helped Nianbing stand up again. Looking at Kitty's tearful appearance, Nianbing comforted her. "This can't be blamed on you. That Ironback Earth Dragon was indeed too strong." Kitty called the cow Dander over and sent back the big mouse Tian and the weak little pig Guan. She supported Nianbing and said, "Gidge, you ride Dander first. I didn't expect that it was actually an evolved golden-back Earth Dragon. Let's go quickly." The spiritual shock just now could only make it unconscious for a short while. It will wake up soon. Facing a crisis, Nianbing's mind was still very clear. It's unconscious? Then we still have a chance. His gaze fell on the Xingyang saber in his hand. Nianbing coldly snorted. Xingyang is not only the roar of the fire god. At the same time, it is also an indestructible, sharp blade. I don't believe that this Earth Dragon's defense can withstand the Xingyang saber. With a wave of his right hand, a magic scroll appeared in his hand. Nianbing casually opened the scroll, and immediately the scroll turned into a ball of flames, condensing into a huge hand. It was the rank 5 fire magic, Fire God's left hand. Although his magic power was exhausted, his spiritual power was still there. Under Nianbing's control, Fire God's left hand took over the Xingyang saber in his hand and immediately flew towards the direction of the golden-back Earth Dragon. Nianbing only had one goal, and that was to use the Zhengyang saber's sharpness to kill the golden back earth dragon that was threatening his and Kitty's lives. This was his only chance, otherwise, how could he escape? Fire God's left hand and Fire God's roar combined perfectly with the Zhengyang saber. Like a stream of light, they rushed towards the golden back earth dragon that was lying on the ground. Seeing that the Zhengyang saber's red light was about to hit the golden back earth dragon, a voice suddenly sounded, "Enough." 2 simple words, but it was like a heavy hammer that heavily smashed into Nian Bing's mind. His vision turned black, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. And the Fire God's left hand that was wrapped around the Zhengyang saber actually dissipated by itself. A white light suddenly flew out, carrying the Zhengyang saber to the side. With Kitty's help, Nian Bing didn't fall down again. He looked at the place where the white light disappeared and saw a man in white slowly walking out from there. This man was about the same height as him, but he was a little thinner. He looked like he was in his 30s, and his appearance was very ordinary. However, what was not ordinary was his eyes. At first glance, his pair of black phoenix eyes seemed very ordinary, but when you paid attention to his eyes, you would immediately realize that his eyes seemed to have a metallic texture, as if they could see through one's heart. With just a slight glance, Nian Bing was shocked to find that his body and soul seemed to have been penetrated by some indescribable thing. It was an extremely uncomfortable feeling, and he couldn't help but spit out another mouthful of blood, and his mind was dizzy. The Zhengyang saber was in the hands of the man in white, and on his shoulder there was an eagle with white feathers and red eyes. Its body wasn't big, and it was about the size of a falcon. Its 2 claws firmly grasped the man in white's shoulder. It was very obvious that the Zhengyang saber was previously taken away by it. What made Nian Bing feel strange was this white eagle not afraid of the temperature of the Zhengyang saber. "Daddy," Nian Bing's heart tightened when he heard Kitty's shout. Although he had already guessed a little, he could not help but feel a little surprised after hearing Kitty's confirmation. However, he was not nervous at all at this time. What was the use of being nervous in front of a powerful summoner when a magician without magic power was? Facing it calmly was the best choice. Seeing her father, Kitty did not enthusiastically pounce on him. Instead, she moved closer to Nian Bing. At this time, Nian Bing became her shield. "Come over here." Looking at his daughter's panicked face, Hillard was both angry and amused. These days, he had been out looking for his daughter's whereabouts. However, Kitty was extremely cunning and used all kinds of methods to confuse Hillard. If it were not for the special spiritual aura of her summoned beasts, Hillard would not have been able to do anything to her. "Daddy, Daddy, why are you here? Brother Nian Bing is very weak now. I can't go over. I need to support him," Kitty said with an innocent look. Hillard's gaze turned to Nian Bing, and he said indifferently, "Since my daughter used the summoning spell in front of you, and you are a magician, you should already know our secret." Nian Bing looked at Hillard calmly. Faced with the metallic gaze, he did not flinch at all. "Yes, I already know. Can you return my saber to me?" He knew what Hillard meant. From the first time he saw Kitty, Nian Bing knew that in order to keep the secret, this white summoner would not be stingy with killing people. Hillard looked at the righteous Yang saber in his hand, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. "Yes, this is indeed a good saber. At the same time, it is also a top magic item. Unfortunately, with your current ability, you can't unleash its power." With a casual toss, the righteous Yang saber flew to Nian Bing. With his familiarity with the saber, Nian Bing did not even need to look at it. He easily caught the saber in his hand. Roar! The gold-backed earth dragon roared angrily again. He stood up shakily, as if he was still a little dizzy. He looked around, looking for the enemy. Hillard turned to the gold-backed earth dragon, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Nian Bing was shocked to see that Hillard's originally black eyes suddenly turned completely white. It was a terrifying white. 2 simple words came out of his mouth. Quiet. It was a shock from the soul. His spiritual power condensed into a force and directly enveloped the gold-backed earth dragon's huge body. The gold-backed earth dragon, which Nian Bing could not hurt even a little, began to tremble violently after hearing Hillard's 2 simple words. It crawled on the ground, not daring to move. Hillard's eyes returned to normal. He did not pay attention to his daughter. Instead, he looked at Nianbing and said, "Do you know why you can't beat me even after using so many magic spells?" Nianbing thought for a moment and said, "This gold-backed earth dragon has an extremely strong defensive ability. The cuticle on its body is like an armor and shield that covers its whole body. It has an extremely strong physical and magical defense. However, no matter what kind of creature it will have a weakness. I think that this gold-backed earth dragon's external defensive ability is already very strong. In that case, its spiritual power is probably not as strong as it looks. With your spiritual magic, you can directly attack its brain with your spiritual power. Naturally, you can achieve results that I can't. Perhaps this is the principle that one thing can subdue another, just like how water can subdue fire and light can subdue darkness. Of course, I don't mean to belittle spiritual magic. A martial artist's do chi can restrain ordinary magic, but spiritual magic is a martial artist's counter. Even if a magician's spiritual power is not weak, I'm afraid there won't be many who can resist such a powerful spiritual attack like yours. Besides, you also have a magical summoning technique." A rare smile appeared on Hillard's cold face. "You can still be so calm in a situation where your magic power is almost completely exhausted. Your spiritual power is really good. I'll give you a chance. If you can survive the attack of the snow eagle on my shoulder, I'll spare your life. Kitty, come here, otherwise I'll confiscate all your pets." Kitty blinked, as if she suddenly decided something. In a flash, she stood in front of Nianbing. "Dad, you can't kill Brother Nianbing. Sister Feng Nu said he's a good person." Hillard frowned slightly. "Feng Nu?" Kitty said, "Sister Feng Nu told me to say the words Daughter of the Phoenix to you. Dad, please let go of Brother Nianbing. At worst, I'll go back with you." Hillard snorted and said, "You little girl, you actually dare to negotiate with me. Come here." The last two words were full of deterrence. Under the pressure of spiritual power, Kitty's face became even paler, but she still stubbornly stood in front of Nianbing and shook her head vigorously. Nianbing patted Kitty's shoulder. Go back to your dad. I don't need a woman to protect me. Don't worry, I'll be fine." Kitty looked back at Nianbing with tears in her eyes. "Brother Nianbing, but you don't have any magic power now. The snow eagle is very powerful. Brother, with spiritual power as a guide, lost child, I'll lead you into the lost eternity." Hillard's voice had a strange magnetism. Hearing this voice, Kitty couldn't help but tremble. Her eyes revealed a confused look. She turned around, faced her father, and walked towards Hillard step by step. Spiritual magic was indeed strange. Kitty walked to Hillard's side obediently and stood there as if she had lost her mind. Hillard said to Nianbing indifferently, "No matter what relationship you have with Feng Nu, and no matter what happened between you and my daughter, if you can't block the snow eagle's attack, then only death awaits you." Nianbing took a deep breath, and her eyes fell on the snow eagle on Hillard's shoulder. "Come on." These two simple words were full of confidence. With a wave of his right hand, 4 scrolls flew out of his space ring and landed on the ground in front of him. Without magic, he could only rely on scrolls. Although making these scrolls had cost him a lot of experience, for the sake of his own life, he couldn't care less about anything else at this moment. Hillard smiled indifferently and said, "Then I'd like to see how powerful the ice and fire magic is. Little snow, attack." The air suddenly became cold. The snow eagle spread its wings and flew up from Hillard's shoulder. The cold feeling was emitted from its body. This snow eagle actually had an attribute. With a flash of light, another 4 scrolls fell into Nianbing's hands. Although the snow eagle looked far less intimidating than the golden-backed earth dragon, he didn't dare to slack off. The snow eagle sprang into action. Its 2-meter-long snow-white wings were fully unfurled. It let out a loud cry, and 2 giant ice blades formed from ice shot out from its wings. Blue light flashed, and the 2 blades intersected before arriving in front of Nianbing. Nianbing twisted her fingers, and a flame ignited, quickly setting up a wall of fire in front of her. Then, The other 3 scrolls flew out of her hand at the same time, and she quickly retreated a few steps. When the ice blades met the wall of fire, the power of the attack suddenly weakened a lot. At this moment, a huge dual-colored ice ball rose close to the ground. The remaining power of the ice blades could only leave 2 deep marks on it. The dual-colored ice ball spun quickly in the air, forming a beautiful arc from bottom to top, and went straight for the snow eagle. Offense was the best defense. The snow eagle's red eyes revealed a disdainful light. It suddenly withdrew its wings and fell completely, almost brushing past the ice ball. Suddenly, it accelerated and rushed towards Nianbing. However, Nianbing also released 2 scrolls at the same time. They were a pair of attacks of the same origin of ice and fire. A crazy explosion sounded, and the attack mixed with red and blue light formed a huge vortex, covering the snow eagle's body. This was the strongest attack he could release at the moment. A loud and sharp sound came from the snow eagle's mouth again. It didn't have the strong defense of the golden-backed earth dragon, but the power of the same origin of ice and fire caused 2 extreme magic to erupt at the same time. The alternating power of cold and hot was not simple. The snow eagle, which was originally rushing forward, abruptly changed the direction of its attack in midair. It soared up, forming a parabola in the air before the origin of ice and fire was about to reach it. It jumped over the origin of ice and fire and rushed towards Nianbing again. Nianbing's eyes widened, and she spat out another mouthful of blood. She bit the tip of her tongue and raised her mental strength to the limit. Come back. The origin of ice and fire that was originally rushing forward abruptly stopped its forward momentum. It turned around and circled the snow eagle in the air from behind. At the same time, Nianbing raised her icicle staff high. Rise, Ice Baptism. The first 4 magic scrolls that were thrown out shattered at the same time. Cold air rushed to the sky, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge ice shield, covering the snow eagle's body from the front and restricting its freedom. Ice Baptism was a 6th rank ice magic. 2 of Nianbing's 4 scrolls were able to release its power, and the other 2 were 4th rank enhanced ice magic. Under the effect of the 4 scrolls at the same time, the ice shield in the air was already a foot thick in an instant. Only the direction of the origin of ice and fire was not sealed. The snow eagle also felt the danger. With a sharp cry, it flapped its wings, and its whole body was covered in a layer of blue light. Its body was like an arrow rushing towards the sky. Want to run? There's no chance. Turn the flames. In the originally empty space of the ice shield, a purple flame suddenly appeared. The flame covered the entire space of the ice shield before the snow eagle rushed to the top of the ice wall. At the same time, it also covered the snow eagle's body. At this moment, Nianbing continued to use his mental strength to forcefully control his spells. Finally, he couldn't hold on any longer and fell to the ground. The ice and fire attacks that came from the same source also disappeared when they approached the ice barrier because of the lack of mana control. A clear shattering sound was heard, and the snow eagle's body soared into the sky. However, it originally had a body of sparkling, snow-white feathers, but at this time, it had turned into a black eagle. The snow eagle's body suddenly expanded a little in the air, and an ear-piercing cry was heard. Snowflakes floated in the air, and the snowflakes fluttered in the wind, becoming more and more urgent. Nianbing's heart went cold. She knew that if she had been able to control the magic for a moment longer, even if the origin of ice and fire couldn't kill this powerful magic beast, she could at least severely injure it. But now, it seemed that she no longer had the chance. The snow eagle's current ability was clearly much more powerful than the Tier 4 blizzard. Right now, she didn't have any magic scrolls above Tier 4 that she could use. She could do nothing but wait for her death. However, Nianbing didn't close her eyes. Looking at the snow eagle in the sky, her heart was filled with unwillingness. That's enough, little eagle. A red light suddenly lit up, enveloping the snow eagle's body and disappearing. The blizzard that had just condensed also disappeared along with it. Hillard slowly walked up to Nianbing. Feeling the still active magic elements in the surroundings, he smiled faintly and said, "You are stronger than I thought. Did you make those magic scrolls?" Nianbing nodded and said, "That's right, I did it. I didn't completely block the snow eagle's attack. Why did you let me go?" Nianbing stretched out her hand, and Nianbing didn't hesitate. She grabbed his hand and stood up. Her body swayed, and the dizziness in her mind seemed to have intensified. If it weren't for the warm aura coming from the heavenly token in her chest, she was afraid that she wouldn't have been able to hold on and would have fainted. A light flashed in Hillard's hand, and a green pill the size of a cherry appeared. "Eat it. You can only rely on yourself to recover the lost magic power, but this calming pill can eliminate your discomfort." Nianbing took the pill and swallowed it directly. After the pill entered her mouth, it immediately turned into a bitter liquid and slid down her stomach. Heat rose along with it. A layer of sweat appeared on Nianbing's forehead, but her spirit became much better. She didn't thank Hillard. She just looked at him in silence, waiting for him to speak. Hillard also looked at Nianbing. "Aren't you afraid that I'll give you poison?" Nianbing smiled. "Senior, don't you think that your question is a little redundant? If you want to kill me, there are 100 ways. Why use such a despicable method like poison? Besides, when you asked me to support the Snow Eagle's attack, I know that you don't want to kill me. If you want to ask something, you can ask now." Chapter 37. There was a hint of surprise in Hillard's eyes. "Well, you could be considered a talent. Ice and fire magic and our summoning techniques are both mysterious and have a long history. However, the reason why I didn't kill you is not because of this, but because you risked your life to let my daughter escape. How long have you known Kitty?" Nianbing smiled bitterly. "It's been more than 4 hours. We only got to know each other before noon. You can rest assured that I just treat her as a sister." Hillard said in surprise, "Only 4 hours? You can make Kitty trust you in such a short time. It seems that you are indeed extraordinary. What about Feng Nu that Kitty mentioned? What's your relationship with her?" Feng Nu's beautiful face flashed in front of Nianbing's eyes, and he said indifferently, "We can be considered friends. Kitty just said that she's the daughter of the Phoenix. What does that mean?" Hillard's eyes flashed, and he said, "You don't need to know that now. If Feng Nu wants to tell you, she will naturally tell you. It's too dusty here. Let's sit over there for a while." As he spoke, he pointed in the direction that Kitty had escaped. Nianbing secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The mysterious summoner in front of him had indeed brought him great pressure. In his heart, Kitty had become a synonym for trouble. Ever since he met her, his troubles had never stopped. Now, he hoped that Hillard would take Kitty away as soon as possible. "Confused child, wake up." The magnetic voice sounded again. The spiritual fluctuation was wonderful. It was a special wave that seemed to be only felt by Kitty. Her whole body shook, and she woke up from her daze. After a moment of shock, she immediately locked her eyes on Nianbing. "Brother Nianbing, are you okay?" She ran to Nianbing in a few steps and looked him up and down. Her eyes were full of concern. The naughtiness when they first met was gone. At this moment, Kitty seemed to have grown up a lot. Nianbing subconsciously patted Kitty's head and smiled. "Don't worry, I'm fine. Senior was just joking with me just now." Kitty looked at her father in confusion. Hillard snorted and said, "It seems that Dad is not as important as an outsider in your heart. I'll deal with you when we get back." Kitty blinked and giggled. "Dad won't. Dad loves Kitty the most. I already know that I was wrong. Why don't you ask Mom to punish me?" Hillard laughed. "Her? If she didn't spoil you, you wouldn't dare to run away from home." The three of them walked to the side and found a clean spot to sit down. Nianbing purposely picked up the musk that was wrapped in a cloth earlier. Kitty giggled and ran to the side. After a while, she ran back with the roasted deer. "It's still warm. Dad, Brother Nianbing, let's eat together." Nianbing took the deer. With a shake of his wrist, the proud heaven blade appeared. He found a few clean leaves and spread them on the ground. With a flash of green light in his hand, pieces of deer appeared neatly on the leaves. "Senior, Kitty, this is a little remote. You can eat together." Kitty saw that her father didn't seem to be hostile to Nianbing. She was relieved. Ignoring the oil on the deer, she picked up a piece and put it in her mouth. Hillard looked at Nianbing and asked, "Where did you learn the ice and fire spell?" "I'm quite familiar with the magic world, but I've never heard of anyone who knows this legendary magic. Your magic power seems to be only at the level of a great mage, but with the ice and fire spell, you can exert magic close to the power of a sorcerer. If you didn't encounter a rare species like the golden back earth dragon, ordinary magic beasts wouldn't be able to hurt you." Nian Bing smiled indifferently and said, "If I tell you that I learned the ice and fire spell by myself, would you believe me?" Hillard frowned slightly, but he quickly nodded and said, "I believe you. In the beginning, the ancestors of the white people, the great saint summoner, also relied on his own wisdom to have great power. He created the profound magic of summoning and auxiliary spiritual magic. The ice and fire spell must have existed in the past. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as legendary as the summoning spell. You can find a way to the ice and fire spell, which proves that you have the opportunity. This is also one of the important reasons why I didn't kill you." Nian Bing smiled bitterly and said, "But it's not easy to practice. No one has practiced this magic before. I can only rely on myself to figure it out bit by bit. I also have to be vigilant against the possibility of the two extreme magic elements of ice and fire erupting at any time. Until now, I haven't figured out whether what I'm practicing is the ice and fire spell." Hillard thought for a moment and said, "It shouldn't be completely. Actually, I was already there when you were roasting the meat. But at that time, I saw you using both ice and fire magic to cook the musk deer, so I didn't appear. Later on, when you were fighting against the golden back earth dragon, I discovered that although your ice and fire homology could make use of two types of opposing magic to burst out a stronger magic attack, to a certain extent, it wasn't the true ice and fire homology. Because when the magic elements erupt, you can't completely retain the characteristics of ice and fire. Otherwise, even if the golden back earth dragon has super strong defense, it's impossible to completely resist the attack of the ice and fire spell. First cold and then hot, or first hot and then cold, is the best way to break any defense. As long as the power is enough, no matter how strong the defense is, there's a chance to break it. Kid, you still have a long way to go. Just like my ancestors, no one can really help you. Everything can only rely on your own efforts. Dad, don't you want to eat together? It's really delicious. When we go back, can you make it for me to eat? If there's something delicious, I promise I won't sneak away." While saying that, she handed a piece of musk deer meat to Hillard. Hillard took the deer meat from his daughter and put it into his mouth. He chewed it, and a look of shock appeared on his face. At this time, Nianbing was thinking about what Hillard had said. Hillard's words could be said to have awakened him from his dream. Just as he said, if he could increase the magical attack power of ice and fire by using the same origin of ice and fire, and at the same time, let these two opposite magical elements display their own characteristics, then it would not be as simple as an explosive increase in attack power. The attributes of ice and fire would also be fully displayed. A fiery red figure stealthily approached the three of them. Kitty's eyes moved and immediately discovered its existence. She said in a bad mood, "You come here. Where did you die just now?" "As soon as you smelled the meat, you ran back. You damn fox. See how I'll deal with you when we go back." The last sentence was completely imitated by her father's tone. The fox Na-Na lowered its head and walked to Kitty's side. Saliva flowed out from the corner of its mouth, and it looked at Kitty with a greedy and pleading face. Hillard glanced at the fox and said, "Kitty, just give it some food. It hasn't evolved yet, so it doesn't have the ability to attack. You don't have to blame it." Hearing Hillard's words, the little fox actually nodded repeatedly with a fawning look on its face. Kitty snorted and said, "You little fence-sitter, I usually doted on you for nothing. As punishment, you are not allowed to drink milk for a month." As she said that, she threw a piece of meat that Nianbing had cut to the fox Na-Na. At this time, Na-Na didn't care about any punishment. It held the musk deer meat with its two front paws and ate it crazily. At this time, under the effect of the wind of freedom and the proud heaven blade, the musk deer was only left with a skeleton. Nianbing also threw the skeleton to the fox's side and picked up a piece of meat to eat. Hillard said, "Nianbing, your knife skills are very skillful. Could it be that you also practice martial arts? Nian Bing was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, No, I don't. I still have a long way to go if I only practice magic. How can I also practice martial arts? If that's the case, I'm afraid I won't be able to see the peak of any ability in my life. Hillard nodded approvingly and said, That's right, that's right. The origin of ice and fire already requires you to spend most of your energy to study it. Don't learn too many things just because you are smart. That won't do you any good. Your knife should be a top-notch wind magic item. And that flame knife, just now, why did you use them to cut meat? Nian Bing smiled and said, That's because they're not just my magic staffs. They're also my kitchen knives. My true profession is to be a chef. At this time, for some reason, Nian Bing had a good impression of Hillard. Although Hillard's face was cold, his unpretentious tone and expression made Nian Bing think of her stubborn father. What? A chef? A great magician is a chef? Hillard looked at Nian Bing in disbelief. Nian Bing smiled and said, That's the truth. My culinary skills are much better than my magic. Hillard picked up another piece of musk deer meat and didn't ask any more questions. He just nodded in agreement and said, Indeed, the food you cook is really good. At this time, a strong golden light suddenly attracted the attention of Nian Bing and the others. The golden light came from the direction of the golden earth dragon that Hillard had imprisoned with his spiritual magic. Hillard's expression changed slightly, as if he was thinking about something. Soon his eyes showed a hint of joy. Great, that golden earth dragon has mutated. You guys stay here and don't move. The mutated golden earth dragon is very scary. I will be back soon. Kitty, haven't you always wanted a powerful pet? This time, you have one. As he spoke, Hillard waved his right hand, and a red magic hexagram appeared in front of him. The red light flickered, and a 3-meter-long cyan bird appeared in front of Hillard. He directly stepped on the bird and made a strange sound. The cyan bird suddenly flew high with his body in the direction of the golden light. Nian Bing looked at Hillard using the summoning skill without any incantation. She couldn't help but feel envious. If she could have such a summoned beast, wouldn't it be more convenient to walk on the continent? Brother Nian Bing, I'm sorry. Kitty suddenly lowered her head and said to Nian Bing. Nian Bing stared blankly and said, Kitty, what's the matter? Kitty still lowered her head and said, I know I was wrong, but can you forgive Kitty? Nian Bing smiled and said, Silly girl, at my most dangerous moment, you ran back to save me. What else is wrong? What is the matter? Kitty stubbornly said, Promise to forgive me first, then I will tell you. Nian Bing laughed and said, Okay, no matter what, I will forgive you. Now you can tell me. Kitty grabbed the fox, Na-Na, who was still eating the deer meat on the ground, and said, I'm afraid that golden earth dragon was attracted by the smell of Na-Na's urine. Nian Bing smiled and said, It seems that the power of your precious fox is really not small. However, I've already guessed this. That golden earth dragon should have been attracted by the smell of urine first, and then smelled the fragrance of the deer meat. Only then did it notice us. This is nothing. Why would I be angry with you? Kitty raised her head and peeked at Nian Bing and said in a low voice, There's one more point. Actually, earth dragons are very gluttonous. Although it is very ferocious, but if we ate the deer meat at that time, it would not have noticed us. I wanted to see how powerful Brother's magic is. That's why I lied to you and said it would definitely attack us. But I also didn't expect it to be a golden earth dragon. When the words came out, Kitty's head lowered even more, just like a little girl waiting to be judged, looking very pitiful. Nian Bing looked at Kitty with some bitterness. Only now did he understand that the reason why he risked his life was because of Kitty's lie. But what else could he blame Kitty now? Sighing softly, he touched Kitty's soft black hair and said, Forget it, but in the future, don't make this kind of joke. It is fatal. Kitty, be good. Brother won't blame you. Kitty suddenly raised her head, her eyes shining. Brother, you really don't blame Kitty? Nian Bing nodded helplessly and said in his heart, What's the use of blaming you? Things have already happened. Anyway, you little witch will soon leave with your father. Why should I blame you? Kitty cheered, fiercely hugged Nian Bing, and kissed him on the face. Brother's the best, brother is the best. When Kitty jumped into his arms, Nian Bing realized that Kitty was really no longer a child. Although her soft body had a faint fragrance, although her figure was not as slender as Feng Nu's, under the cover of some tattered loose clothes, she could definitely be regarded as a budding flower. Just as he was about to say something to cover up his embarrassment, the earth suddenly shook violently. Nian Bing and Kitty looked in the direction of the golden light, only to see that Hillard was already flying high in the sky on the bluebird, looking at the golden light below. Kitty thought for a moment and said, "The ironback earth dragon is already a powerful creature. When it reaches 100 years old, its body strength will increase, and when it reaches 300 years old, it will evolve into a golden-back earth dragon." That's what you saw before. Dad once said that the golden-back earth dragon is the king of the earth. Unless it is a real dragon, there are very few creatures that can compete with it. Whether it is physical or magical defense, it has reached the peak. However, our spiritual magic is the nemesis of this kind of king of the earth. Now, it is very likely that the golden-back earth dragon has evolved under the stimulation of Dad's spiritual magic. As for how much it will evolve, I don't know. Listening to Dad's words, it seems that he wants to make it my pet. That's great. Nian Bing nodded, couldn't resist the curiosity in her heart, and whispered, "You stay here and don't move. I will go and take a look." Kitty giggled and said, "If you want to go, then let's go together. It's not far anyway. With Dad, we will be fine." Nian Bing glanced at her, helplessly nodded, and said, "Then you must not make any noise. Be careful behind me." Agreed. Kitty put the fox Na-Na on the ground and took the lead to walk towards the direction of the golden light. When the two of them looked at the place where the golden light was emitted from behind a big tree, it was indeed the golden-back earth dragon, but now its appearance had begun to change. Its originally big body had shrunk a little, but there were two more huge protrusions on its back. Its four limbs also looked thicker, the whole body completely turned golden. The cuticle was angular. It looked like it was covered with a layer of golden scales. The dorsal fin was a little longer than before, and it seemed to be twisted together, forming a spear-like protrusion. The protrusion was about 1 meter high. After carefully counting, there were a total of 9 twisted dorsal fins, like 9 spears extending from the back of its neck to the tail. At the same time, its tail also changed. The original long tail appeared to be bifurcated, divided into 9 parts, but at this time, it was not completely formed. The golden-back earth dragon continued to spit out golden flames from its mouth, and the scorching aura caused the surrounding vegetation to be completely scorched. It seemed to be very excited, and its large blood-red eyes shot out ominous light in all directions. The golden light around its body seemed to form a natural protective layer. It was flickering. The breath of life was constantly increasing. Roar! The golden-back earth dragon issued a roar from its mouth. It fiercely raised its huge head and spat out a huge golden flame towards Hillard in the air. Hillard coldly snorted. The blue bird flew high with his body, dodging the attack of the golden flame. The golden-back earth dragon, who had spat out a mouthful of golden flames, seemed to be very tired. It lowered its big head and couldn't stop panting, as if it was accumulating more strength to attack Hillard again. Unfortunately, Hillard would not give it another chance. "With my life as a guide, with my blood to call you, noble Caradiris, my partner, show me your greatest strength." On the back of the blue bird, he quickly bit his finger. Using his blood as a guide, he drew a very small hexagram out of thin air. The moment the hexagram was completed, the blue bird under him suddenly trembled violently. Hillard patted the blue bird's back, and with a flash of light, it disappeared into thin air. And Hillard's body naturally fell to the ground. At this time, the surrounding air suddenly became heavy. The red hexagram that Hillard had drawn before suddenly enlarged. Hillard's body stopped in the air, and a huge black shadow slowly appeared from the red hexagram. The originally clear sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds, and a deep dragon roar sounded. The dark clouds in the sky rolled, and Hillard, who was stopped in the air, was lifted up by a huge black shadow. Yes, it was a dragon, a green dragon. Nian Bing couldn't believe her eyes. She rubbed them hard. Dragon? Is it really a dragon? Didn't they say that dragons were destroyed during the ancient war? How could a dragon appear again? Heavens! Kitty's father can actually summon a real dragon. The clouds follow the dragon. This is the so-called clouds follow the dragon. Yes, it was indeed a dragon. Its body was more than 70 feet long. Its two huge dragon wings spread out, bringing a haze to the earth. It had a pair of antlers on its head, a beard on its mouth, and a pearl on its forehead. Its whole body was covered with blue scales, and its four limbs were thick and powerful. Just its dragon claws alone were as big as the head of the golden back earth dragon. Its huge body slightly twisted in the air, its wings spread out, and its four claws stretched out. It fell to the ground. The strong wind blew everything around, and the golden back earth dragon, whose whole body was emitting golden light, suddenly trembled. It raised its head and roared at the blue dragon. The dragon's roar sounded again. The blue dragon seemed to be roaring angrily, and the valiant golden back earth dragon lowered its head, not daring to disobey. Where the blue dragon landed, its four powerful dragon claws grabbed the scales on the golden back earth dragon's back, and it kept roaring. The golden back earth dragon seemed to be communicating with it, but its voice was getting weaker and weaker. Hillard slid down from the blue dragon's back to the ground. He looked at the golden back earth dragon at a close distance and smiled with satisfaction. "Thank you, noble Caradiris. I'll have to trouble you to bring it back first." The blue dragon nodded towards him and actually spoke in human language. "In order to survive, it has already surrendered. I have already promised it. After 100 years, it will be allowed to enter the dragons." The blue dragon Caradiris nodded towards Hillard and roared towards the sky. It turned its big head to look at the place where Nianbing and Kitty were. "Kitty, you have to listen to your father, otherwise Uncle Long will spank your little butt." Facing the blue dragon, Kitty was not afraid at all. She came out from behind the tree, giggled, and said, "Uncle Long won't be willing to spank me. I'll go back with my father. But you have to let Kitty play with its whiskers, okay? This time, I heard someone say that if the dragon whiskers were made into a whip, they could whip stones into powder." The blue dragon roared in a low voice. Its huge head drooped down powerlessly and said helplessly, "You little girl, you're getting bolder and bolder. All right, I'm leaving. Go back and let your father spank your butt." Although it was scolding Hillard, there was no hint of blame in its tone. It flapped its powerful wings, causing Hillard to take a few steps back. Then it flapped its wings and carried the huge body of the golden-backed earth dragon up into the sky. After a while, it had already passed through the clouds and left. When the dark clouds gradually dispersed, the blue dragon Caradiris had already disappeared. Nianbing stood there, seemingly thinking about something. Suddenly, he flipped his wrist, and the proud sky blade in his hand chopped at the big tree beside him. Under the acceleration of the wind, the proud sky blade was almost unhindered and swept past the tree. The blue light flashed again. Nianbing's backhand chopped again. The tree fell, and a piece of tree trunk about a foot long and a foot in diameter fell into Nianbing's hand. His mind seemed to be completely immersed in the tree trunk, and he did not even notice that Hillard and his daughter had returned to his side. Kitty was just about to talk to Nianbing, but she was stopped by Hillard. He whispered to his daughter, "Don't disturb him. He seems to have realized something." The blue light flashed, and the book cover peeled off from the tree trunk. Nianbing flicked his wrist, and the proud sky blade was sent back to his space. The next moment, the ghost eagle appeared in his hand, and the lines on the tree trunk were completely clear. He cut it. The blue light flashed in his hand, and the wood chips scattered in all directions. Nianbing softly chanted, "Where the ghost eagle hand falls, the sky changes, carving 100 waves. The divine work is eternal. The blade rises, the waning moon shines on the cold spring." His movements seemed very elegant and slow, and the blue light swirled around the wooden block like smoke. However, Hillard, whose spiritual power was abnormally strong, could clearly see that every time the dreamy smoke fluctuated, only a few dozen blue lights slashed on the wooden block. Finally, the blue light disappeared, and the ghost eagle lay peacefully in Nian Bing's hand. In his other hand, he held the work he had just completed. It was a dragon that was exactly the same as Caradirus, and even the dragon scales on its body were the same. The movement of the dragon was exactly the same as when Caradirus had swooped down, and the dragon's huge wings were completely extended to both sides. The most exquisite part of the carving was the eyes of the green dragon Caradirus. It seemed that even the eyes were reflected in the carving. If it were not for the fact that it was not alive, it would simply be a miniature version of the green dragon. The ghost carving godly knife. What a good ghost carving godly knife. Your knife skills have reached such a level. Now I really believe that you are a chef. Hillard had seen all kinds of things, but he still could not help but praise Nian Bing's masterpiece. Nian Bing came back to her senses and said a little embarrassedly, "I'm really sorry. When I first learned how to cook, I was best at carving dragons, but I always felt that the things I carved only had the shape of dragon and did not have the spirit. When I saw the dragon summoned by the senior, I suddenly couldn't hold back the excitement in my heart and carved this work." Hillard walked up to Nian Bing and praised, "In such a short time, you were able to capture Caradirus's body and spirit. It shows that you have a high level of spiritual power." Nian Bing handed the carved wooden dragon in her hand to Kitty, who had a curious look on her face, and said, "You are going home. Consider this a gift from your brother." Kitty excitedly took the wooden dragon in her hand. "That's great, brother. I didn't know you had this ability." Nian Bing smiled and said, "There's another gift. Although it may not be really useful, it is still good to wear it." As he spoke, he took out the two fangs of the musk deer from before. The phantom eagle flashed, and the insides of the fangs were suddenly hollowed out. He carefully stuffed the musk fangs in and handed them to Kitty. "When you go back, seal them with wax. If there's a wound on your body in the future, just rub the yellowed musk fangs in the wound, and it will not be infected. If you're bitten by a poisonous insect, use the musk fangs to draw a circle around the wound. That way, the poison will not spread. But you have to remember that you have to wait for the musk fangs to completely turn yellow to have that kind of special effect. The musk fangs themselves will emit a faint fragrance. I think you will like it." Kitty looked at the two 5-inch-long musk fangs in her hand, and there seemed to be something in her big, bright eyes. "Brother, why are you so good to Kitty? Kitty likes your gift so much." Nian Bing smiled and said, "You call me brother so many times, so you can't call me brother for nothing. Brother doesn't have anything good, so I can only give you these." Hillard smiled and said, "It seems that you are really lucky. That is worthy of being called a treasure-attracting fox. Although its urine smells bad, it can attract rare animals. After this musk fangs are made, they are worth more than 50 purple gold coins, and they're also priceless." It was the first time Nian Bing saw a warm smile on Hillard's face. At this time, he no longer looked like a cold-faced summoner, but more like an elder. Just when he thought that Hillard was about to leave with Kitty, he pulled Kitty back to the previous place and sat down. He waved at Nian Bing and said, "Do you want to hear the story about the golden-backed earth dragon?" Driven by curiosity, Nian Bing walked to Hillard and his daughter and sat down. Hillard continued, "Even I didn't expect that you would be able to meet a 1,000-year-old earth dragon. In the records of any place on the continent, there are only legendary records about dragons. But in fact, although dragons are powerful, they are still a kind of creature on the continent, just that they are the strongest kind. During the ancient war thousands of years ago, there were more than 1,000 giant dragons on the continent. At that time, the countries were proud of having giant dragon warriors because dragons represented power. Whichever side had more giant dragon warriors would have a higher chance of winning. However, as time passed, the number of dragons gradually decreased. Although they were the most powerful creatures, it was very difficult for them to reproduce, especially when it came to hatching dragon eggs. The fewer the number of dragons, the more precious they were. Dragons were a proud race. They would never ask for help from humans because they always thought that humans were selfish. The reason why they helped humans in battle was that they wanted to strengthen their reproductive ability by understanding humans, who were the fastest creatures to reproduce. However, after the war, they were disappointed. After all, dragons were not humans. Their different body structures made it impossible for them to have the rapid reproductive ability of humans. When a number of dragons was less than 100, the Dragon King at that time knew that his race was going to be extinct. In desperation, he could only use his life as the price and use the most powerful dragon magic to ask for help from the legendary dragon god. Just as the ceremony was about to be completed, a flaw appeared in the Dragon King's dragon magic. A selfish Dragon King who wanted to replace the Dragon King attacked him. At this time, my ancestor, who had always been on good terms with dragons, burned all his spiritual power to stop the Dragon King at the cost of his life. This allowed the Dragon King to complete the forbidden spell of dragon magic, the prayer of the dragon god. Chapter 38. Speaking of this, Hillard's eyes couldn't help but reveal a sorrowful look. He sighed softly and continued, "The dragon god really came. As one of the main gods, the first thing he did was to punish the dragon's traitor. At the same time, he ordered the Dragon King to lead the powerful dragons back to the god's realm and become a member of the god's realm forever. However, the Dragon King was reluctant to leave the Yangon continent where the dragons had lived for countless years. At his request, the dragon god allowed one dragon of each branch to live on the continent, but they could no longer participate in the war on the continent. My ancestors saved the dragon race, so the dragon god gave us the title of Dragon Guardian. He allowed the most outstanding person in each generation to sign an equal contract with one of the dragons left on the continent and supervise the 7 dragons left on the continent. When it came to my generation, the one who signed the contract with me was the wind god dragon Luidilus that you just saw. As an adult dragon, he is more than 5,000 years old. According to the understanding of humans, he is almost invincible. Only the god's descent spell or the god's combat chi of a warrior who is at the peak of god tier can hurt him. The 7 branches of dragons live in different corners of the Yangon continent. Except for themselves, no one knows the whereabouts of the other dragons. The dragon god didn't give them any tasks. On the continent, except for not being able to participate in the war, they are completely free. Dad, I know all of this. Quickly get to the point. Kitty urged impatiently. Nian Bing's heart was like a mirror. She knew that the reason why Hillard told her this secret was to repay the gift she had given to Kitty. For him, this historical knowledge was extremely precious. When she heard Kitty interrupt Hillard, she hurriedly said, "Good Kitty, don't interrupt. Let the senior continue." It was strange that Kitty, who usually didn't even listen to her parents, actually shut her mouth when she heard Nian Bing speak. Not only did she not speak, but there wasn't even a trace of dissatisfaction on her pretty face. Hillard smiled meaningfully and continued, "I'll get to the point soon. On our continent, there are many different faiths. Some of them believed in dragons, the most powerful of creatures, and they formed the dragon-human clan. They claimed to be draconians to the outside world, using the giant dragons left on the continent as totems. They worked hard to cultivate themselves, hoping to gain the giant dragon's recognition. As far as I know, even though the giant dragons are idle, they loathe humans. Until now, the number of dragonborn who have been truly acknowledged by the giant dragons is extremely small, just like the phoenixes who have the phoenix as their totem. Every part of a giant dragon is a treasure, so there are also people who call themselves dragon slayers, contrary to the dragon-human clan who believe in the divine dragon. However, there are very few of these people who can achieve anything. Not to mention that they can't find a giant dragon. Just the dragon-human clan alone is enough to make them suffer." Nian Bing asked doubtfully, "Senior, could it be that only God's descent and God's do chi can restrain the giant dragon? If that's the case, once the dragons want to harm humans and the legendary dragon god doesn't care, won't humans suffer calamity?" Hillard smiled and said, "In theory, this possibility exists, but the possibility is very small. Even though the dragons are powerful, they also have their own weaknesses. If you want to deal with them, you can only succeed by finding a dragon-slaying weapon if you don't have enough strength. However, dragon-slaying weapons are extremely rare. The things that are similar to cursed magic items have almost been lost. Alright, the story ends here. Let's talk about the golden-backed earth dragon today. I don't know if you guys are too unlucky or too lucky, but the golden-backed earth dragon that we attracted today is not only an evolved ironback earth dragon, but also the king of golden-backed earth dragons. From my communication with Karadiris, I learned that this golden-backed earth dragon is already thousands of years old. Ordinary earth dragons generally don't live for more than 200 years. If they have a special encounter and live for more than 300 years, there's a 20% chance that they will evolve into a golden-backed earth dragon. Whether it is attack or defense, a golden-backed earth dragon is far above an ordinary ironback earth dragon. This is also the reason why your ice and fire magic can't hurt it. A golden-backed earth dragon can generally live for up to 500 years. The one you saw just now must have eaten some kind of heavenly treasure or some kind of elixir, or relied on its low intelligence to comprehend a certain cultivation method. It actually lived for more than 1,000 years. It is definitely worthy of being called the golden-backed Earth Dragon King. Maybe you feel that it is not strong enough, but that is because they didn't fight it head-on. With its own ability, even a fully equipped heavy cavalry regiment can't compete with it. Its weakness is that it can't fly, and it has a natural fear of flying creatures. That is why you guys can help it last for so long. Nian Bing said that its appearance just now is it the evolution that Kitty said? What are the characteristics of the golden-backed Earth Dragon King after its evolution? Hillard said, there's a saying passed down from ancient times that you may have heard, and that is, how can a golden-scaled fish be a creature in a pool? It will turn into a dragon when it encounters the wind and clouds. This is talking about a kind of fish, a fish with the blood of dragons. If this kind of fish can lead the dragon vein in its body under a certain opportunity and use the chi of heaven and earth to get rid of its own impurities, it may become a real dragon. The golden-backed Earth Dragon King you just saw has the same situation. On the continent, there were quite a few creatures that possessed a small portion of the dragon bloodline, and this Earth Dragon was one of them. However, I never expected that this Earth Dragon would be able to live for 1,000 years, and even enter the final stage of its dragon transformation under my mental magic imprisonment. The changes you saw just now were the process of its dragon transformation. However, whether it can really become a dragon is unknown. I summoned Karadiris not to deal with it, but to help it become a real dragon. Through Karadiris to make it submit. As long as it has the help of a real dragon, its evolution process will become perfect. Once it becomes a dragon, it will no longer belong to the category of Earth Dragon. As for what attribute it has, it can only be seen after it completely evolves. This evolution process, I am afraid it will take at least a year. I asked Karadiris to tell it that as long as it is willing to submit to my family for 100 years, I can help it completely transform into a dragon and officially join the dragons. In the absence of a choice, it has already agreed. From its 9 tails and the erect spear-shaped dorsal fin on its back, I'm going to call it the 9 Gorilla Dragon. As long as I let Kitty sign a contract with it, even if this girl runs out in the future, I won't have to worry so much. Hooray, Daddy is the best. Kitty jumped up in joy, hugged Hillard's neck, and kissed him on the cheek. Hillard deliberately put on a stern face and said, "Don't be so proud. With your current spiritual power, do you want to sign a contract with the dragon god? If you want to become a dragon summoner, go back and practice your spiritual magic. If you can't grasp such a good opportunity, don't call yourself my daughter in the future." Looking at her father's stern face, Kitty giggled, stuck out her cute little tongue, and said, "I know. I will go back and practice hard. Daddy, let's bring Big Brother Nianbing back, okay? His cooking is really delicious. Kitty is so lonely by herself. If only Big Brother Nianbing could accompany her. I promise I won't run away in the future." Hearing Kitty's words, Hillard's face suddenly changed. This time, he seemed to be really angry and said sternly, "Haven't you soaked enough? How dare you talk to me about conditions, little blue?" With a flash of light, the big green bird appeared out of thin air. It immediately understood Hillard's meaning through the communication of spiritual power. It lowered its head and put Kitty on its back. Kitty's eyes reddened. Daddy is so bad, so fierce. Nian Bing, it seems that we are really going to be separated. I'll leave you one of this musk tooth. When you see in the future, just think of it as Kitty. Don't worry, Kitty will definitely look for you again. As she spoke, she threw one of the musk teeth to Nian Bing. Hillard frowned, and his eyes shone with a cold light. The huge green bird quickly flapped its wings and flew up with Kitty. Nian Bing said, Senior, Kitty is still a child. She is just a little playful. Don't blame her. Looking at the green bird that was gradually rising, Hillard's eyes showed a trace of worry. To be honest, killing you now is the best choice, but I've already said it in advance. Consider yourself lucky. Nian Bing was stunned for a moment. Looking at Hillard's sudden change of expression, she did not understand what he meant. Senior, Hillard snorted and said, I hope you never see my daughter again. Otherwise, the next time we meet, it won't be so easy. We are white, and we can only marry white people to ensure the purity of our bloodline, especially my daughter. If she can't marry a white person, how can the Dragon Guardian be passed on? Upon hearing this, Nian Bing did not know whether to laugh or cry. She said, Senior, are you mistaken? Not to mention that I've only known Kitty for a few hours. I just treat her as a sister. It's impossible for me to discover such a thing. Hillard's eyes shone with a profound light. I know my daughter the best. You could treat her as a younger sister. She still doesn't understand men's affairs, so she will treat you as her older brother. However, everything you've done has left a deep impression on her. Who can say what will happen in the future? Remember my words. If you want to carry forward the magic of the same origin of ice and fire, and if you want to live peacefully, then don't have anything to do with my daughter. When he said the last few words, Nian Bing only felt her mental strength tremble violently. A sharp pain came from her brain. Her whole body shook, and she suddenly lost consciousness. When Nian Bing woke up, the surroundings had become dark. The dizziness brought about by the feeling of weakness made her mind a little fuzzy. She calmed herself down and recalled everything that had happened before she fainted. Until now, she still could not believe it. Looking around, she saw that the remaining roasted deer meat was still there. It seemed that all of this was true. Kitty's father was actually such a powerful existence. She could not help but understand. Why were the fathers of the girls she met after she left the peach blossom forest stronger than the other? Perhaps even her new teacher, Long Ji, was no match for a magician who could summon a dragon. After all, magic could not hurt a dragon without the strength of a god's descent master. It seemed that she still had a long way to go if she wanted to avenge her parents. Propping herself up with both hands, Nian Bing moved to the side and sat under a tree. Although Kitty and her father had brought a lot of trouble and even danger to Nian Bing, she was still very excited to learn about dragons from the dragon summoner, Hillard. Nian Bing was now a little envious of white people. If they could summon a dragon, then what was the use of practicing magic? Forcefully shaking this tempting thought out of her mind, she opened the space ring, took out 3 of the few remaining magic scrolls, spread them in front of her, and connected them together with a simple triggering magic array. Although these were only grade 4 magic scrolls, they should be enough to deal with ordinary beasts. As long as it was not an earth dragon, there should be no problem. The magic scrolls could be used without chanting, which was indeed very convenient. However, Nian Bing simply calculated the value of the magic scroll she had used before, and she had the urge to strangle herself. How many purple gold coins would that be? Forget it. It would be better for her to make fewer magic scrolls in the future. If she always relied on these scrolls, the speed of her magic improvement would be greatly reduced. As her mood gradually calmed down, Nian Bing closed her eyes, felt the magic elements in the surrounding air, and entered a state of meditation. The most important thing now was undoubtedly to restore her strength. Kitty was gone, and she had regained her freedom. Although it was lonely, Nian Bing preferred this kind of loneliness. With the help of the Divine Stone of Fire and the Ice Goddess Stone, Nian Bing had recovered 80% of his ice and fire magic after a night of meditation. All he needed to do was absorb less of the magic elements in the air as he walked, and he would be able to return to his peak condition in no time. As for the magic scrolls she had used, she could not replenish them. She could only buy some white magic scrolls in the next big city. Unfortunately, a lot of his money had been taken away by Kitty. He was afraid that even if he wanted to buy white magic scrolls, he would have to start with the most common magic scrolls, and then try to buy a few low-level magic scrolls. Nian Bing simply roasted the rest of the deer meat with a flame spell and ate it. Then, he ate a piece of ice condensed by an ice spell. Nian Bing once again embarked on his journey of training. Walking alone might be lonely for an ordinary person, but such a situation would not happen to Nian Bing. After confirming the direction, he walked while recalling the magic knowledge in the library in his mind. He used his own way to understand it, so the journey was not lonely. It was already the 9th month, and the originally dry and hot air gradually turned cool and refreshing. Autumn was the harvest season, and besides all kinds of plants on both sides of the roads of the Ice Moon Empire, there were also crops planted by the commoners. Under the illumination of the sun, the air became even fresher. Although the direct sunlight was very strong, walking under the shade of the trees made one feel cool and comfortable. Ice Orchid City was a big city on the border between the Ice Moon Empire and the Ottoman Empire. It was also one of the most peculiar cities in the entire Yangon continent. This was because 2/3 of the city was within the Ice Moon Empire, and the other 1/3 belonged to the Ottoman Empire. When the territories were first laid out, it was unknown how they had divided the territories. Fortunately, the Ice Moon Empire had always been on good terms with the Ottoman Empire. The city was controlled by the Ice Moon Empire, but they had to pay a small amount of taxes to the Ottoman Empire every year. Since Ice Orchid City was on the land of the two empires, it had become the largest transportation and commercial hub. The scale of the city was comparable to the Ice Moon Empire's second largest city, Ice Snow City, and it was even more lively. The people of the Ottoman Empire and the Ice Moon Empire shuttled through the city, and the largest group was made up of merchants. The Ice Moon Empire and the Ottoman Empire had always been trading. Smart merchants would trade goods from the two empires, and this way, they would be able to obtain greater profits. With merchants, there was naturally another group that couldn't be left out, and that was the mercenaries. In order to maximize their profits, the merchants often had to transport goods over a long distance. Therefore, hiring mercenaries to protect them was a must. After all, no merchant would want the goods that they had painstakingly collected to have problems on the road. Magicians had their own magicians' guild, and mercenaries had their own mercenaries' guild. However, the mercenaries' guild wasn't as noble as the magicians' guild. In the eyes of ordinary people, it was only a gathering place for low-level warriors. One could receive various missions from the mercenaries' guild, and according to the level of the mission, one would receive different rewards. Among the mercenaries, there were very few who had outstanding martial arts skills. After all, if one's martial arts skills had reached a certain level, why would one be a mercenary? There were many better choices waiting for them. The Mercenaries Guild of Ice Orchid City was located in the northernmost part of the city, and it was very close to the city gate. The guild's guild hall wasn't big, but it occupied a very large area. At this moment, at least 700 to 800 mercenaries were gathered. Some of them came alone to receive missions, while some came as a mercenary group. However, their goal was the same, and that was to earn money. If they could find a mission that was both simple and easy to complete, then the mercenaries could be free for a while. Of course, not all mercenaries' goal was to earn money. Although the number of such people was small, they did exist. Some of their goal was to travel, and some of them liked to take risks, although they were only a minority. However, it was also within this minority that there were the most powerful mercenaries. I saw this mission first. Does your Orchid Fire mercenary group want to bully others and snatch it? A mercenary who wasn't tall, but his body was as plump as a ball, roared angrily. His voice was absolutely inversely proportional to his height. This roar almost spread throughout the entire guild hall. For a moment, the mercenaries who liked to join in the fun all cast different kinds of gazes. The short fatso's body shape looked a little funny. Simply speaking, his whole body was like a meatball placed on a pile of fat meat. everywhere was round. The loose clothes on his body didn't look like a warrior's suit anymore. From the shape of the white shield on his chest, one couldn't tell that it was a warrior's suit anymore. Looking at the color of the mercenary symbol with 2 crossed swords, he was just an ordinary level 4 mercenary. Mercenaries were divided from high to low into special, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and trainee mercenary. Their symbols were the same, which was a badge with 2 crossed swords on a shield. And according to the different levels from high to low, the colors of the badge were gold, silver, red, purple, yellow, white, blue, and gray, the color of the medal itself. So what if I'm bullying you? Go home, shorty ball. You still want to complete the mission with this kind of conduct? The way I see it, you'll eat up the owner before we're even halfway there. A tall mercenary wearing a blue warrior suit said disdainfully. From the looks of it, he looked more like a mercenary. The short and fat mercenary was so angry that the fat on his body trembled. You dare? This is the mercenary guild, not your Orchid Fire mercenary group. Or why do you have to steal the mission I want to take? The guild will uphold justice, right, beautiful lady? As he said that, his gaze fell on the face of the lady in charge behind the counter of the mercenary guild. In the guild hall, there were at least 30 counters that were responsible for assigning missions. Behind the counters, there was a huge blackboard that clearly stated the various levels of missions and mission requirements. No matter which counter you were at, you could accept missions according to the number you were assigned. If a mission was not accepted within 3 months and the employer was not willing to give up, then the mission level would automatically increase by 1 level. The level of these missions was exactly the same as the mercenary's level, but it did not mean that a level 3 mercenary would be able to complete a level 3 mission. The difficulty of a mission of the same level was only close, but it would definitely not be the same. The lady in charge behind the counter looked like she was 25 or 26 years old. Her appearance was ordinary, and the uniform on her body outlined her good figure, making her look very plump. She looked at the short fatso impatiently and said, "The guild will naturally uphold justice. However, although you want to take this mission, you were still hesitant and did not confirm it. So, the Orchid Fire Mercenary Group is not bullying you. Frankly speaking, with your strength as a level 4 mercenary, it is also very difficult to complete this level 3 mission. Don't make a ruckus here. Please leave." The one from the Orchid Fire Mercenary Group, you can go through the registration procedures. Bullsh asterisk T, I was the one who accepted the mission first. You little girl must be his lover. Damn it, I'm going to accept this mission today, no matter what. The short fatso's face was already red with anger. His right hand slammed on the counter, making a rumbling sound. The badge on the chest of the mercenary from the Orchid Fire Mercenary Group was yellow, representing the mark of a level 3 mercenary. He stretched out his fan-like big hand and pressed on the short fatso's shoulder. Make a ruckus somewhere else. Don't disturb my registration. The short fatty slapped his hand away and said, "Get out of my way. This mission is mine." The mercenaries were originally a mix of good and bad people. Seeing that the other party was still so arrogant, even though his level was lower, the member of the Orchid Fire Mercenary Group immediately became angry. "What? You want to fight? I will beat you to death, fat pig." The lady in charge behind the counter snorted and said, "If you want to fight, go outside, or I will call the guards." When the previously arrogant fatso and the ferocious member of the Orchid Fire Mercenary Group heard the word guard, their expressions immediately changed. Fatso cursed a few times in a low voice and awkwardly squeezed out of the crowd to go outside. And that member of the Orchid Fire Mercenary Group also obediently started to register for the mission. The level of a mercenary was determined by the difficulty of the mission and the number of missions completed. Therefore, even a level 3 mercenary may not necessarily have the strength of a high-level warrior. Most of them were only ordinary warriors, and the guards hired by the Mercenary Association were at least at the level of a high-level warrior. Among them, there was no lack of experts at the level of a swordmaster. They would definitely not be lenient to the mercenaries who dared to come here and make a ruckus. As long as the guards made a move, breaking bones was a common occurrence. Therefore, although the mercenaries often had conflicts, They did not dare to provoke the guards of the Mercenary Association. Seeing that the commotion was over, the mercenaries who originally gathered here went back to do their own things. The lady in charge snorted. She did not know how many times she had seen this kind of situation. She picked up the pen on the table and slowly registered for the strong man of the Orchid Fire mercenary group. "Excuse me, is there a mission to purchase a high-level magic scroll?" A clear voice sounded in front of the counter. The lady in charge finished registering and handed the registration card to the member of the Orchid Fire mercenary group. At the same time, she impatiently said, "Can't you see the mission yourself? What's there to ask?" As she spoke, she raised her head. When she saw the person who asked her, her eyes immediately lit up. Her originally impatient eyes suddenly sparkled, as if she could see the shape of a heart from her gaze. Standing in front of the counter was a very tall man. Although his figure was not as exaggerated as the strong man of the Orchid Fire mercenary group, his figure was slender and well-proportioned. His long golden hair was draped over his back. His deep blue eyes, as deep as the sea, emitted the brilliance of wisdom. He looked to be around 20 years old. His handsomeness was something that even women would be jealous of. At this moment, hearing the words of the lady in charge, he could not help but slightly frown. His gaze swept over the blackboard behind him. The lady in charge coughed and barely suppressed her excitement. Sir, are you here to accept a mission?" The blond youth was Nianbing. Hearing this, his gaze once again fell on the face of the lady in charge. He nodded and said, "Yes, I want to see if there's a mission to purchase a 5th-level magic scroll or above." After 10 days of trekking and flying in the occasional snowstorm, Nianbing finally arrived at Ice Orchid City that bordered the Ice Moon Empire and the Ottoman Empire. Once he entered the city, the first thing he did was to purchase a detailed map of the continent. In these 10 days, if he did not rely on flying and asking for directions to find the correct route, he did not know how many detours he would have taken. As soon as he arrived at Ice Orchid City, the first thing Nianbing thought of was to replenish the number of magic scrolls he had. After counting, he only had 20 or so purple coins on him. It was enough to buy ordinary magic scrolls. However, when he wanted to create a magic scroll that could double cast magic and achieve the effect of the same source of ice and fire, he had to use the best scrolls to have a certain chance of success. Obviously, he did not have enough money on him. Therefore, he wanted to sell a few magic scrolls for money. Of course, he also looked for a branch of the Ice Moon Empire's Magicians Guild here. Unfortunately, because Ice Orchid City bordered the Ottoman Empire, there was no branch of the Magicians Guild here. Of course, the lack of a branch was also related to the decline of the Ice Moon Empire's Magicians Guild. Helpless, he could only go to a magic shop to sell his magic scrolls. However, because the magic scrolls he made were different from ordinary magic scrolls, those Tier 4 to Tier 6 magic scrolls were special scrolls that could release power without magic as long as they were opened. Naturally, he could not let anyone examine the goods. As for the magic scrolls that were not special and were fusion magic scrolls, how could those magic merchants understand the magic arrays engraved on them? Nianbing wanted to use a magic scroll to display his strength, but the value of the magic scroll was so high that he was really unwilling to part with it. For a time, he was in an awkward situation. After going to a few magic item shops, he received the same answer. Finally, a kind shop owner guided him to the Mercenaries Guild to try his luck. If he could receive a mission to buy magic scrolls here, he would not have to worry about not being able to buy the magic scrolls. Most of the buyers were willing to pay to test the magic scroll's power. In desperation, Nianbing asked for directions and came here, hoping to find a suitable mission to exchange for money. The previous scene, Nianbing saw it all. The low-quality mercenaries left a bad first impression on him. The lady in charge looked at the handsome Nianbing with a smile on her face, and the peach blossom in her eyes couldn't help but develop into a pink color. Too handsome, too handsome. Sir, please wait a moment. I'll check for you. My name is Mary. I'm very happy to be of service. Yo, girls really like to be handsome. Mary is flirting today. Why haven't I been treated like this before? A 40-year-old Tier 3 mercenary next to her said in a strange tone. Mary had seen a lot of things in this place where dragons and snakes mix together every day. She snorted and said, "Get lost. Don't talk nonsense in front of me. If you have the ability, when you become a Tier 1 mercenary, I'll also find a mission for you." The 40-year-old man's eyes fell on Nian Bing. "So, he's a Tier 1 mercenary? Why don't I see it?" Nian Bing impatiently glanced at the meddlesome person next to him. The obscene smile on the person's face showed that he was looking down on him. He was too lazy to pay attention to this kind of person, and his eyes fell on Mary again. The middle-aged man saw that Nian Bing didn't say anything, so he put his hand on his shoulder even more aggressively. "Boy, look at you. You must be a prostitute. I've never seen you here before. Could it be that your business is not good? So you came here to seduce women? Mary is really a good choice. Look at her body. It's really hot. However, I'm afraid that her little salary can't satisfy you. Do you want me to introduce you to a good girl? The rich ladies in the city like a pretty boy like you." "Ah, the heavens are really unfair. Why can't I be more handsome? Boy, your mother must be very beautiful." His obscene laughter suddenly made the surrounding mercenaries burst into laughter. Chapter 39. Nian Bing was a smart man. After experiencing everything that happened in Ice City, he didn't want any trouble. If the middle-aged man only insulted himself, he would at most treat him as an annoying fly. However, the middle-aged man insulted his mother. That was the most painful wound for Nian Bing. In an instant, Nian Bing's eyes changed, but there was a smile on his face. The middle-aged man suddenly felt that his body was a little cold, and his heart was cold for no reason. "Laugh, your mother." In order to cover up a trace of fear in his heart, he put his hand on Nian Bing's shoulder and slapped him in the face. "Laugh, your father." The blue light flashed like smoke, and in the midst of the blood, there was a shrill scream like a pig being slaughtered in the mercenary union. A hand that was still twitching fell to the ground. The middle-aged man let out a blood-curdling scream as he held his bleeding wrist. His face instantly turned pale, and his legs went soft. He fell to the ground and continued to scream in pain. Nian Bing kicked the broken hand aside, as if nothing had happened, and still looked at Mary. It was impossible for Nian Bing to defeat a level 3 mercenary in a head-on fight. However, his blade was simply too fast. The Ghost Condor had already fused with his hand a few years ago. His lightning-fast blade techniques, coupled with the sharpness of his blade, allowed him to accomplish many things if he caught his opponent off guard. Silence, unusual silence. The whole mercenary union fell into a dead silence. The cold and cruel means shocked the audience in an instant. Mary stared at the handsome man in front of her. Her hands were already trembling. Nian Bing's voice was still very gentle. He reminded Mary, "Miss, please continue to look for him." "Thank you." His gentle voice was so clear in the hall. Just now, almost no one saw what he did, but there was a small knife in his right hand. The small knife, shining with blue light, was rotating between his 5 fingertips. "You, how can you hurt people in the mercenary union?" Mary's voice was obviously trembling. Nian Bing's face showed a rogue smile. "Did I hurt people? Are you sure you saw it?" Mary was stunned for a moment. She didn't believe that it was Nian Bing who did that, but the truth was right in front of her. Nian Bing's smile made her feel very cold, as if the person in front of her was no longer a handsome young man, but a demon, a murderous demon. "Guards! Quick! Guards!" Mary screamed hysterically. The fear in her heart made her take a few steps back. She tripped over a chair and fell to the ground. Nian Bing frowned and turned to look at the middle-aged man with a broken arm. As expected of a level 3 mercenary, he had some knowledge of healing injuries. At this moment, he was desperately pinching his wrist to prevent too much blood from flowing out. The crowd of mercenaries automatically dispersed, and 3 guards wearing black warrior clothes came over. When they saw the scene, their faces changed at the same time. The leader of the guards, a warrior in his 30s, frowned and looked at Nian Bing. "I'm the captain of the guards here. Did you do it?" Nian Bing smiled and didn't answer his question. Instead, he squatted down and asked the middle-aged man with the broken arm, "Did I cut off your arm?" His smile was very gentle, but just as Mary had felt before, the middle-aged man saw a devilish smile. His body trembled a little, and because of excessive blood loss, his face turned blue. He desperately shook his head. No, 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 no. Nian Bing stood up and looked at the captain of the guards with some provocation. He is lying. It was indeed me who did it, because he insulted my mother. His left leg suddenly took a step forward, and with his right leg, he used all his strength and kicked the middle-aged man in the face. Suddenly, the middle-aged man didn't even have time to scream. Blood splashed out, and he fainted. The captain of the guards didn't stop Nian Bing, but his eyes became cold. Boy, you are very arrogant. You have to understand where you are now. Nian Bing smiled indifferently. I understand. Isn't this the mercenary union? The captain of the guards coldly snorted. Then I will help the mercenaries regain their dignity. Nian Bing pointed his right index finger at the middle-aged man who had fainted. A person like him still has dignity? The captain of the guards emitted white Do Chi. Being able to do Do Chi proved that he had entered the realm of Swordmaster. On the surface, the strength of this captain of the guards was not below Shu edging. You will become like him. The captain of the guards raised his hand, and the surrounding mercenaries suddenly opened up a space for them. Nian Bing shook his head at the captain of the guards, stretched out his right hand, and a fireball suddenly appeared in his palm. Since you have confidence in yourself, then come. But I can't guarantee that I won't accidentally hurt others. Seeing the flame in Nian Bing's hand, the captain of the guard's face suddenly changed. He said in surprise, You are a magician? Nian Bing smiled slightly and said, To be precise, I should be a magician from the Ice Moon Empire's Magician Union. Was the captain of the guards afraid of magicians? No, he was definitely not afraid. He didn't think that the magic of this young man in front of him could be stronger than his martial arts. However, although a magician didn't have the advantage in a one-on-one situation with a warrior, but because of the small number of magicians, their status was much higher than that of warriors, and they were the target of every country. Especially when he heard Nian Bing say that he was a member of the Magician Union, his hesitation disappeared. As the saying goes, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Even if the Ice Moon Empire's Magician Union was weak, it was still a Magician Union. It was definitely not something that a low-level mercenary union could provoke. I'm sorry, respected Mr. Magician. I thought you were also a mercenary. Please forgive my rudeness. The captain of the guard dispersed his fighting spirit and respectfully said to Nian Bing. Nian Bing didn't want to reveal her identity, but in order to avoid trouble, this was the best choice. She smiled indifferently and pointed at the middle-aged man on the ground. If you don't want him to die, then carry him away. The captain of the guards turned around and gave a look to his subordinates. The two guards quickly went forward and carried the unconscious middle-aged man away. The captain of the guards looked at Nian Bing with some doubts and said, Mr. Magician, since you are a member of our Magician Union, can you please show your identification? Nian Bing slightly frowned and said, Is this necessary? The captain of the guards looked at the ghost condor between Nian Bing's fingers and nodded. He said, I think it is necessary. I need to give our mercenary union an explanation. Nian Bing smiled indifferently and said, This is what you want. With a flash of light, a token appeared in his right hand. It was the token of identity that Long Ji had given him a few days before he left. The captain of the guards took the token in Nian Bing's hand and looked at it carefully. Suddenly his face changed. You are... Nian Bing took the token back and put it back into the space ring. Don't say it out loud, as long as you understand it. I'm here to find a task that needs to be done. The captain of the guard's face became a little pale, although he couldn't believe that the young man in front of him was an elder of the Magician Union. But the token was absolutely not fake. How could the things of the Magician Union be easy to imitate? After hesitating for a moment, he went to the counter and said to Mari, Quickly help this Mr. Magician find the task that he needs. Don't neglect it. Leaving this sentence, he quickly walked away. The surrounding mercenaries all turned to look at Nian Bing. To be able to scare away the captain of the guards, they knew that this young man was not simple. Moreover, he was a magician. Mari secretly glanced at Nian Bing and hurriedly looked for the task information of the mercenary union. However, her hands were still trembling. Nian Bing sighed in her heart. The The law of the jungle was indeed the rule of society. In front of Hillard, she was weak, but in front of these people, she became strong. It seemed that no matter where she went, there would be no peaceful days. Well, I found it. There really is one. Mari picked up the task record with relief. Nianbing said, Mr. Magician, the task you want is a bit strange, but there really is one. It is here. The City Lord's personal guards need a level 5 magic scroll. The only requirement is a clue. A scroll clue is 5 gold coins. The higher the level of the scroll, the reward will double. It is a level 3 task, and it can be taken by many people at the same time. Now, 73 mercenaries have taken it, but only 2 people have completed it. Nianbing was happy. The City Lord's personal guards should be rich. Now she had a source of funds. She quickly asked, How can I contact the employer? Mari hesitated for a moment and said, After the mercenaries have completed the task, they just need to give the task to us. We will contact the employer. As long as the task is confirmed to be completed, we will pay the mercenaries the reward and take 1/10 as the handling fee. As for the employer's contact information, we need to keep it confidential. Nianbing smiled indifferently. In that case, you just need to tell me the contact information. I can complete this task. Mari was stunned for a moment. But you are not a mercenary, and you're not a member of the guild. This is against the rules. Nianbing smiled and said, That's easy. He looked at the mercenaries around him. The one closest to him was the Orchid Star mercenary group who had just taken the task. After taking the task, he did not leave. Instead, he was watching the fun. Nianbing waved to him. This big brother, I want to ask you for a favor. The man was stunned for a moment. Of course, he knew that the status of a magician was noble. Me? How can I help you? Nianbing said, You can take the task and then directly receive the reward. The man still did not understand the meaning of Nianbing. Our mercenary group has taken this task a long time ago, but we have not completed it. Nianbing smiled. Then you can hand in the task now. I am the source of the magic scrolls. Miss Mari, this time it is in accordance with the rules. I live in a Lanshin hotel not far from the guild. When the employer comes, tell him to find me in room 364. Just say that I have a few magic scrolls that are above the 5th grade to sell. After saying this, he nodded to the man and walked out of the door. Mr. Magician wants to sell magic scrolls? Then why do you have to complete the task? A low and vigorous voice sounded. The hundreds of mercenaries in the hall spread out like a tide and formed a corridor. Nianbing just walked to the door and looked along the corridor. He saw a white, beardless, and slender old man walking towards him. The captain of the guards followed behind him. Nianbing stopped and looked at the old man. Soon, the old man came in front of him and smiled. Mr. Magician, I am the president of the local mercenary guild. I don't know if I can have a chat with you. Nianbing smiled and said, Of course, it is a pleasure to meet you, Mr. President. He knew that it must be because of his identity that attracted this president. Listening to his tone, it seemed that he also wanted to buy magic scrolls. If he could sell it here, it would be even more convenient. So, Nianbing naturally would not refuse his invitation. The president of the mercenary guild, Nianbing, made an inviting gesture and led him to the back of the guild. When they passed through the hall and entered the back of the guild, the surroundings suddenly became much quieter. The president of the mercenary guild stopped and said to the captain of the guards, There is nothing for you to do here. You can go back to work. The captain of the guards agreed and returned to the hall. Mr. Magician, please come with me. After saying that, the president of the mercenary guild continued to lead Nianbing inside. While walking, Nianbing observed the surrounding environment. This mercenary guild was connected to the front and back. She was now in a courtyard. The interior of the guild was very simple. Everything was plain and practical. Under the guidance of the president of the mercenary guild, Nianbing followed him to a large office at the back of the guild. Mr. Magician, please take a seat. Let me introduce myself first. I am the president of this guild, Carlo. Just now I heard from the captain of the guards that you are actually an elder of our country's magician guild. Such a distinguished guest. I am sorry for not going out to meet you. Nianbing smiled and said, Mr. President, you don't have to be so polite. Actually, I am only an advanced magician. But because my master is the president of the Magician Guild, so in order to make it easier for me to move around outside, my master granted me the status of an elder. Letting others look down on her was the best protection. Carlo's expression did not change, as if he had already guessed it. Mr. Magician, to reach the advanced magician realm at such a young age is already very difficult. Just now I heard you say that you have magic scrolls to sell. Rather than letting others take advantage of them, why not sell them to me? The price is negotiable. I wonder what level of magic scrolls you have. I want all of them. Nian Bing looked at Carlo with some doubt and said, in terms of price, I will absolutely not back down. Carlo naturally understood her meaning and said with a smile, you can rest assured on this point. I will say something arrogant. Although our mercenary guild is only a low-level guild and does not have any financial support from the country, but in terms of money, I am afraid that your guild and the warrior guild added together cannot compare to our mercenary guild. Although the commission we take is not much, but the number of mercenaries in the Ice Moon Empire now exceeds 30,000. Even if each person only pays 1 copper coin a day, for us is still not a small income. Nian Bing's heart moved. Only then did she realize the mistake in her thinking. That's right. Although the mercenary guild was not in the eyes of others, but they were one of the largest guilds. The mercenary groups that they had could be said to be all over the empire. Whether it was information or resources, they were indeed not to be underestimated. Perhaps in the future, if she wanted to inquire about anything, she would have to rely on them. Thinking of this, the smile on his face suddenly became friendlier. President Carlo, don't misunderstand. I don't have any other meaning. Only, I want to remind you that what I need is not money, or rather, not completely money. Carlo smiled indifferently and said, Mr. Magician, if you have any requests, please do not hesitate to state them. As long as it is worth the money, I will do my best to satisfy your request. Nian Bing knew that it was time to talk business. I have all kinds of magic scrolls in my hands now. Among them, there are 4 level 4 scrolls, 3 level 5 scrolls, 2 level 6 scrolls, and some special scrolls. I need you to use the same scrolls to exchange for them. Use the best white scrolls. When Carlo heard that Nian Bing wanted to use white scrolls to exchange, he immediately smiled. This is too simple. With our guild's connections, I can definitely satisfy your request. This kind of ordinary magic item is very popular in Ice Orchid City. However, I want to hear what kind of exchange rate you are prepared to use. How about this? You're selling so many. I can use 20% higher than the market price to purchase them. How about it? I want all of these scrolls. Nian Bing said, then I want to hear your specific price. He was not in a hurry to make a deal with the other party. After all, although he had some understanding of the price of the scrolls, he was not certain. At this time, he calmly dealt with it so that he could obtain the best profit. Carlo was not in a hurry to state the price. He stood up and walked to the side to pour a cup of water for Nian Bing. Mr. Magician, please drink some water first. According to the market price, a level 4 scroll, depending on the magic recorded, was priced from 5 to 15 purple gold coins. A level 5 scroll was priced from 20 to 50 purple gold coins. A level 6 scroll was priced from 200 purple gold coins to 500 purple gold coins. You can rest assured that as long as the magic of the scroll is suitable, the price I give is absolutely fair. Generally speaking, the price of attack magic scrolls is relatively higher. You should understand this. Nian Bing smiled slightly and said, all right then, I will also give you a price. Level 4 magic scrolls, 200 purple gold coins for one. Level 5 magic scrolls, 50 purple gold coins for one. Level 6 magic scrolls, 400 purple gold coins for one. I think this price is still fair. Hearing Nian Bing's price, Carlo immediately frowned. Mr. Magician, I can understand your price for level 5 and level 6 magic scrolls, but why is the price for level 4 magic scrolls so high? Nian Bing smiled faintly and said, it's very simple. Because this level 4 magic scroll is absolutely not something you can buy anywhere else. This is a trigger magic scroll that my teacher, Archmage Longji, researched. Currently, he has only succeeded in testing level 4 magic scrolls. The last sentence was true. Due to the difficulty of making trigger magic scrolls, Nian Bing could only make level 4 magic scrolls as trigger magic scrolls. Moreover, the materials needed to use the most precious white scroll that was worth 10 purple gold coins. Carlo's heart moved. Trigger magic scrolls? Mr. Magician, could you please explain in detail? Nian Bing said, "This doesn't need any detailed explanation. It's very simple. As long as anyone carries this kind of scroll on them, once they encounter an attack, the scroll will activate the instant before the attack arrives. These 4 trigger scrolls are all firewalls. Level 4 firewalls may not be very strong, but it's enough to save a life. I'm talking about anyone, including anyone who isn't a magician." "What?" Carlo cried out involuntarily in surprise. He had always been experienced and knowledgeable. In his memory, this kind of special trigger magic scroll should have been lost long ago. If it really was a good thing that could save a life, 200 purple gold coins really wasn't expensive. In order to confirm the thoughts in his heart, he probed and asked, "Mr. Magician, what you're talking about, is it the trigger magic scroll that is known as the killer's nemesis?" Nian Bing nodded and said, "Facts speak louder than words. As long as you're willing to take out 200 purple gold coins to test it, you'll naturally know the answer. Only, I don't want you to bargain with me. The scrolls I'm taking out are worth a total of 1,750 purple gold coins. Please exchange it for 150 top-quality white scrolls for me. As for the rest, please exchange it for 250 purple gold coins for a medium-grade scroll." Carlo composed himself and said, "If your scroll really has such a miraculous effect, I'll agree to all of your requests. But just to be on the safe side, I still hope to try one of the level 4 scrolls you mentioned. Let's change locations." Nian Bing thought to herself, "This mercenary guild's president is really rich and overbearing. 200 purple gold coins for an experiment." The two of them arrived at the courtyard. Nian Bing took out a scroll from her spatial ring and threw it to Carlo. When Carlo saw that it was a magic scroll made from a top-quality white scroll, he already believed her a little. After all, the value of an ordinary level 4 scroll was not even comparable to a top-quality white scroll. Using it to make a level 4 magic scroll, one could see the value of this scroll. Nian Bing said, "You can put the scroll anywhere on your body. I'll now use a spell to attack you. You don't have to do anything. Passionate fire elemental. Please release your scorching flames. Condense them into a ball of destruction, erupting flames, and destroy everything in front of you." Bursting flames. Following the incantation, the fire elemental quickly condensed towards Nian Bing. After a while, the level 3 bursting flames appeared in her hand. With a thought, the bursting flames brought out a red ripple, exploding towards Carlo. Under the heat wave, the air was slightly distorted. Carlo's eyes widened. After all, this was an experiment worth 200 purple gold coins. Seeing that the bursting flames was about to explode on his chest, a strange feeling appeared. Carlo clearly felt it. A warm current covered his entire body. The magic scroll that he had just put into his chest let out a slight shattering sound. A thick wall of fire appeared in front of him without any warning. The level 4 earth and fire wall against the level 3 bursting flames was naturally no problem. The bursting flames was completely swallowed by the wall of fire. The huge wall of fire was only slightly restrained before returning to normal. The wall of fire was still burning. The magic provided by the scroll was enough to support him for several attacks. With a flash, Carlo's body flickered with blue dough chi as he went around the wall of fire and appeared in front of Nian Bing. He didn't feel any heartache for the 200 purple gold coins. His somewhat aged face was filled with excitement. Too mysterious. This is too mysterious. Archmage Long Ji is truly worthy of being the Empire's Mage Guild's president. Respected Mr. Mage, no matter what magic your scroll is, I will buy it. I've decided to buy all of them, according to your previous request. Nian Bing faintly smiled and said, "That's good. After you've prepared the white scroll, please come directly to Lanxin Restaurant to find me. I'll be leaving first." "Wait a moment," Carlo called out to Nian Bing. "Respected Mr. Mage, I have a presumptuous request. I hope you can agree to it." Looking at the earnest look on Carlo's face, Nianbing said, "What is it? Please say it." Carlo sighed softly and said, "You also know that we mercenaries have always been a bottom-level industry on the continent, to put it bluntly. Not to mention, we are the bodyguards or thugs of the rich. In the end, there is only one reason, and that is because we are not strong enough. High-ranked warriors simply look down on our profession, so naturally they won't join us. They also don't believe that mercenaries can have any future prospects. As the president of the Ice Moon Empire's Mercenary Guild, I have set up my own mercenary group. There are as many as 5,000 members, formed by well-trained warriors. It is also the only first-grade mercenary group in our empire. If you can join our mercenary group, then I think that the mercenary group's strength will definitely increase greatly. I am willing to pay you a very high reward." Nianbing said with some amusement, "President Carlo, you are too polite. What's so good about being a mage? It is very difficult for a high-ranked mage to defeat a swordsman in a one-on-one situation. Even if I agree to join your mercenary group, it will not be able to increase the strength of the mercenary group by much. Why do you have to be like this?" Carlo shook his head and said, "No, you don't understand. Although mages do not have the advantage in a direct confrontation with warriors, but by virtue of their familiarity with magic elements, there are many difficult missions that only mages can participate in, especially some exploration missions, where miraculous magic can bring great help to the entire mercenary group. This is not something that warriors can do. For example, if we are carrying out a mission in a dark and damp cave, and we don't have anything on us that can be used to ignite a fire, what should we do? It is impossible for the fire element to form a real flame." Nianbing smiled and shook her head, saying, "You don't need to say any more. I am already a member of the Ice Moon Empire's Magician Guild. It is impossible for me to join the Mercenary Guild. I am sorry, please forgive me." Carlo's eyes revealed a sad look. "Yes. Why would a noble magician like him be interested in mercenaries like us?" Nianbing said, "No. If you think so, then you are wrong. In my eyes, there is no distinction between high and low. President Carlo, I still have many things to do, so I cannot agree to your request. However, if you really want a mage to join your mercenary group, I can give you a suggestion." Carlo's eyes lit up, saying, "What suggestion?" Nianbing said, "How about this? When you send the white scrolls to me in exchange for magic scrolls, I will give you a letter. As long as you are sincere, take this letter to Ice Snow City's Magician Guild to see my teacher. I think he may be able to help you." Carlo doubtfully said, "Magician Guild? I am afraid your teacher." Nianbing interrupted Carlo's words, saying, "Don't jump to conclusions before you try. I have never thought that mercenaries are a mob. Of course, it is better not to be like those outside. Bring your sincerity to Ice Snow City. I think you will gain something." After saying this, Nianbing did not stay any longer and left the Mercenary Guild. Returning to her room in the hotel, Nianbing comfortably lay on the bed. Everything was much smoother than she had imagined. With the white scrolls, she only needed to spend a few days to equip herself with magic scrolls. She hoped that she would not encounter creatures like the gold-backed earth dragon again. Otherwise, she would not be able to afford it. As long as the scrolls were prepared, she could immediately go to the Ottoman Empire. Thinking of this, Nianbing took out the map of the continent from her space ring and looked at it carefully. Although it was more convenient to travel as a chef, she was not a god after all. Without any ingredients, no matter how good her culinary skills were, it would be useless. Based on the experience she had gained along the way, she decided to find a more suitable route for herself to go to the capital of the Ottoman Empire, Lantis City. It would be best if she could find a suitable place to stay every day. Nianbing took a look at the map and then hit himself on the head. He muttered to himself, "I'm so silly. Why didn't I ask President Carlo about the famous restaurants or food in Allen City? I only cared about the scrolls. This city is so big, and there are so many merchants coming and going. There will definitely be no shortage of delicious food." Thinking of food, she immediately perked up. On the way to Allen City, she did not have any suitable ingredients despite her top-notch culinary skills. Every day, she could only find something to fill her stomach. Her empty stomach had already given her some complaints. It was not easy to come to a big city, so how could she return empty-handed? Thinking of this, Nian Bing kept the map and left the room. The Launching Hotel she was staying at was just an inconspicuous little restaurant at the north gate of Ice Orchid City. According to her estimation, there would not be anything delicious here. At this time, it was already close to evening. Nian Bing came to the lobby of the hotel. Just as she was about to ask the service staff if there were any famous restaurants around, she was shocked by the scene in front of her.